Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frame Trap. I am your host, Ben Moore. Very excited because this is the first full episode of Frame Trap back in the studio.
Yep.
And of course, to christen it, we needed the boys. Michael Huber.
I really want to bang on the desk.
Is that to
Yeah.
stop it?
Yeah.
Okay, just that energy.
Mhm.
I like it.
Mhm.
And Bradley Ellis.
Hey.
So boys, last week we had E3, and I just want to know, like, are you feeling full? Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling energized? Like, what has kind of your post E3 process been like?
Feeling good. Not the best E3 ever, obviously, but
Yeah.
really solid overall, I thought,
Mm.
especially considering the last year of humanity's existence. I thought it was better than it had any business to be, honestly. I thought, there were some high highs and some low lows, of course.
Yeah.
But I thought there was a good mix, Ben, of games coming out in the immediate and games coming out in the far off future.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a wide range of big, small, soon, far, something for everyone.
Yeah, I think that was well said. You know, thinking about it, I don't think you can. It doesn't feel like E3 if there's not like some sort of train wreck. You know what I mean? And I don't say that disparagingly. Like it's kind of nice. You know, like you got to have your Gearboxes conferences.
Yes.
Just so you can just laugh at something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Brad, how are you feeling?
Feel pretty good about E3. Got definitely some stuff. I feel like I have a few like empty holes that I would love plugged.
What hole can I plug for you?
I mean, we're missing Sony, and we had no EA this E3.
Oh,
also.
sure. Yeah, Sony has definitely felt their absence.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
like they've been gone for a little bit, so it's something new. But got some good stuff. Obviously, got to see Elden Ring, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
I
highlight,
got to
for
see Breath of the Wild 2 just a little bit. Could have used more, but
Right,
gave me a little
definitely.
taste of something new.
sure. Definitely.
And like Metroid, I think was a feel-good win.
Mhm.
Like we've just been wanting new Metroid forever. And like I think Microsoft has some really cool games.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of them are kind of far away, it seems like, but
Mhm.
things like Sea of Thieves seemed really fun.
Just keep
So-
thinking about Stalker 2, man.
Keep
Wanna
thinking
play
about
Stalker
Redfall,
2.
dude. I want to see that game so bad.
I would also very much like to see.
Yeah,
Redfall,
I'd like to see more of that game.
Ben, it's a
Um,
great question because I was thinking about E3 in general
Mhm.
and like what makes a good E3, and it's like those pop-off surprise announcements.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just over the years, you really realize how rare that is.
Yep.
Mhm.
Because I feel like it's impossible to have one of those moments for a new IP.
Mhm.
Mm.
We don't know what it is. What is
Right.
this new game we're seeing? Okay, cool. Like it has to be a secret. It has to be a sequel or,
Yeah.
of an existing franchise. So it's just like those moments are so rare, but there's always like the expectation that E3 is a failure if we don't have those
Yeah.
somehow. But it's like those don't grow on trees,
Yeah, definitely. And I think people complain about this, and I think this complaint comes from an understandable point. But it's fun. Like if you're so invested in video games that you're watching game announcement for days on end, like you're in the deep end of video games, right?
Yep.
And it's like it's nice to have something, no matter what happens, that you just put all your hopes and dreams in.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even in a way, it's not even really about if they come true.
Yes,
it's
dude.
about the possibility that they could come
Yeah.
true.
The hope.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Gotta give
and
them hope.
it's just like that universal moment. It's like, okay, we've decided this June
Yeah.
that we're doing this, and it, of course, it goes without saying. But boy, it's just been so nice reacting to this stuff with you guys.
Yeah.
It just has a totally
It
different.
was so fun.
feel
One
in
thing I liked
person.
about the C3 is the amount of demos that had been coming out.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously we played Stranger of Paradise, and like, what a wild ride that game's been.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
like, this doesn't look very good to, hey, I'm down.
Well, it was like it started like here where it's like, oh, this didn't look very good, but there's a demo coming out. Oh, the demo doesn't work for a
Yeah.
day. Oh no! Like, and then like the more I played it, I was like, oh no, I really
There's
like
something
this.
here,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
something here. Yeah, obviously I have complaints, but yeah, very curious about that game, 2022.
Polish it up.
What? There was something I was going to say about E3. What was it?
Yeah.
Advance Wars.
Advance Wars. Yeah, Advance Wars. is back.
$60.
Advance Wars is
Advance
back.
Wars $60. Charge them too much money for it, but it's coming back, baby.
Is that a Nintendo first party or?
It's way forward.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but Nintendo owns the license for it though.
Yes, Nintendo
Okay,
owns.
so I wonder if it'll be $60
I
forever.
believe.
Then, like a
Because
lot
it was
of their
originally
games.
Intelligent Systems.
Because you know they don't lower price of their games really
Or
like
it is
ever.
Intelligent Systems.
Like you know all their games from like 5 years ago are still $60. I wonder if
Mhm.
it'll be one of those games. Hopefully it's not.
The counterpoint is there's a lot of content in that. But
2 games.
$60. Ben, you brought up such a good point of just like trying to get the new fans on board. you
Yeah,
know?
it's
That angle I think is the reason 60 hurts so much. It's because like you want to spread the word on it.
right. I think that's when people hear me complaining about the price, I think they're missing the point of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Nintendo can't get away with charging $60.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for a long time. I know that people will play it. I know Nintendo's in a good spot. That's not really the position that I'm arguing. It's just specifically in the case of something, a franchise like Advance Wars or like a Fatal Frame, franchises that, you know, are not these mega blockbusters that don't really have the name recognition.
Yeah.
That they even used to because they've been gone for so long. It's just I want a little bit extra care with how you're presenting them, how you're bringing them back out.
Totally.
You know, I want to see these things thrive and succeed. I want more Advance Wars. I want Advance Wars to get the success that Fire Emblem has. You know, I want.
You gotta add waifus to do that though in Advance Wars.
There are already some good waifus in Advance Wars.
Double down on it though.
Yeah, you mean like you know, do the whole
The
like,
dating
Yeah,
sim,
people have been saying that for a while. I'm curious what
Dude,
direction it'll take.
some bonds and Advance Wars. That's actually a good direction. Let's go.
So you
Hey,
do that
Advance
for,
Wars
do
3.
that for
The thing
anything.
is like, like very likely. Like I don't even think it's like this pie in the sky thing.
Yeah.
I remember what I was gonna say. Kind of growing up or back in the day, I feel like E3 was always especially exciting because the summer was always very dead for video games. There just was not much happening. This June might as well be November. You know what I mean? Like there's so much to play, so much to talk about. Of course, we're gonna get into it. But I think that's kind of the thing that has been kind of a 1-2 punch. It's been exciting playing or seeing these games get announced, but then going home and being like, oh, I want to play this, I want to play this, I want to play this. And so that's been awesome as well. And I feel like there are just, in general, fewer down periods in games. I always have something to look forward to, always something to play.
Every month.
Yeah.
So many games.
Every month there's something.
Because you get big and small a lot more now, it seems like.
Yeah.
It just seems like you have access to so many more games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unlimited, I like to say.
Like, how
There
many
are
games
unlimited good
were
games.
like just shown at E3? It's just like an insane.
There's
amount of
legitimately
games.
unlimited.
Yeah.
Like if you spent your entire existence never leaving your room, only playing games, like you wouldn't run out.
And it's I almost feel like it's pretty much any genre.
Yeah.
Like there's something for you.
Yep.
You know, probably not absolutely true, but like even like turn-based strategy games
Yeah.
had a good E3.
Yep.
Had a good E3.
Tactics coming back, dude.
Dude, Metal Slug
Slug.
Tactics.
Oh my god, it looks
Yeah.
sick.
Sony was not at E3,
Nope.
but they've been making some noise with Insomniac on Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart.
Review copy provided by PlayStation.
I've been playing some of it. Brad, I think you've been playing. Did you finish it?
I
Brad?
finished it
Okay, I've not
yesterday.
finished it
Yep.
yet. And then Huber, of course, you reviewed it. And we have not had a chance to talk about this on Framestrap yet.
Nice.
And it's so interesting. I don't know if this is the right way to lead off the conversation, but Huber, you and I were kind of talking about it before. Like, I love Rift Apart. Every time I
Love
sit
it.
down and I play it, I have a great time.
Yes.
I can't get over how gorgeous it is, how smooth it runs. Just there's a flow to combat that's so wonderful. I think the characters are great. I think the worlds that you're going to are great. I have so many good things to say about it, but like I don't have this burning desire to play it in the way that I thought, despite me thinking it's excellent, because I'm like, this feels like Ratchet and Clank, not even in a bad way, but it's just like, man, I feel like I've played this before.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's hard when you say that because it sounds so damning.
Yeah.
But it's not a damning thing. Like I like it and I'm glad it exists, but it's not like lighting up my imagination is like the first time I experienced one of these
Totally.
games, you know, where I couldn't pull myself away.
Yeah. Well, no, and then I fall into the trap, Ben, of like, I gave this game an 8.5, but then it feels like I can't praise it because I wasn't one of the highest scores out there.
Mhm.
Do you ever feel like that? Like, you know, you didn't, you know, you were critical of it a little bit, so then like, now that's your stance of then like,
Yeah.
put in the box of like 8.5, good,
Yeah.
but like,
Great.
yeah.
I'd
No,
say
it's
great.
it's super hard. I think there's a large number of people out there that think I hate Death Stranding, and I could probably spend
Yeah.
this entire podcast shitting on Death Stranding, but I like Death Stranding. Yeah, I'm very. There's a lot of that I admire about it. So yeah, it's hard, but you know what? Like people are just gonna run with whatever.
Totally.
So just do what you want.
Love Rift Apart. But yes,
Yeah.
there's such a familiarity. And we've
Yeah.
had this conversation, I feel like, for a decade, Ben.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm someone who doesn't need reinvention. I love
No,
refinement.
totally not. Yeah,
Love
yeah.
refinement. And Rift Apart is so refined. I mean, this is the
Right.
formula just ironed out, smoothed out, and perfected. But at the same time, it felt maybe a little too familiar. But I
Yeah.
think the main problem I had, and we'll see if Brad and you agree with this, my main problem was that Rivet and Ratchet are basically the same. They feel the same
Yeah.
to move and control.
I mean, the weapons that you
The
buy
weapons, yeah.
carry over.
Exact
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it was the familiarity of the franchise and then them feeling the same. You know, I wanted like Rivet's side of the game maybe to be experimental,
Yeah.
dramatically different. Like let's give her new techniques and new mobility options,
Yeah.
all this new stuff. Like I would have liked to have seen Insomniac kind of unleashed
Yeah.
with her side of it.
It's funny that you say that because, like, even right in the beginning of the game, it's like, oh, Ratchet and Clank get separated. It's like, yeah, that's definitely happened. But like, this isn't like, oh my god, you know, they've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think there is a sameness there that you're kind of on point. And I wasn't really thinking about that as Rivet because I like Rivet. As
Love her. Love
like her personality, I like quite a bit. But it makes me think of something Crash Bandicoot 4 did that I really appreciated. So not only could you play as Crash, but in addition to Coco, you could also play as these 3 other characters, and it was an entirely different game. You know, I mean, maybe not an entirely different game. Maybe that's going too far, but I'm saying like mechanically, what they could do is just so different and distinct that how you interacted with the world felt very different. And I think Rift Apart could benefit from that.
Yeah, I could have gone for that. Because I like what they did with the weapons, sharing the inventory. That kind of bugged me at first, you know, the cross progression. But I liked how streamlined it was. It made sense in the end. I was like, okay, it makes sense for the arsenal to be shared all around.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you're, as a player, you have to not only buy the weapons, but then you're investing so much in them. And it's like, well, I scoured the map to upgrade this thing, and then to not be able to use it for large periods of time would be a little
Yeah, I
weird.
think they didn't want to
So
alienate players like that.
Yeah. So I liked that in the end.
You know, and what I will say is, boy, like just that loop is so good. And again, it's classic Ratchet, but every weapon I'm getting, I'm like, immediately this is useful. It feels powerful, but you know, you can run out of ammo quickly. And so it's like, I love going into a fight and just kind of spending all of my weapons. You know what I mean? And
All the
everything
ammo.
feels useful.
Yeah.
And they just have so much personality and it's so creative. Like I was saying, there's just kind of a flow to combat where it's like you're sort of fighting before you just sort of slip into it.
Yeah.
Like you're platforming, you're jumping, and all of a sudden there's enemies, and it's just like there's no downtime. It's just a game that is constantly in motion in a really cool way.
I can comfortably say it's my favorite Ratchet and Clank arsenal of all time.
Oh wow, nice.
Easily. Favorite arsenal. Challenge mode, not going to spoil that too. They throw in a couple extra weapons for you on that. And I think just as a whole, rounded out all together, such a strong arsenal.
Yeah.
It is going to be hard to beat the Negatron Collider for best weapon 2021.
I've
Good
not
luck.
used the Negatron Collider yet, so.
Don't tell them anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say nothing. The
good.
ball is in
Freak
all
it
these
out.
other games' courts.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
The
It's real good.
Negatron Collider. Leaves me speechless.
The thing about Ratchet that I think maybe is contributing to this, Huber, is this is a post Spider-Man Insomniac, and both Spider-Man and Miles Morales are games that like I totally adore because they feel so distinct. You know, we talk about zipping all the time and how that feels, and it just like, you know, everything was compared to Batman for forever, and
Yeah.
Spider-Man doesn't feel like it's
Yeah.
just copying the Batman playbook. It's really doing its own thing, and I think they just did so much right by that universe that it's like I almost want them to just go like crazy with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just I believe I think Insomniac is so talented
Mhm.
that they could say, this is what we're doing, and I'd be like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they've gone crazy with Ratchet and Clank
Yeah.
sometimes, and it hasn't worked out. When I think about All for One,
All for
and
one
like
is All for One is bad.
Spin-off,
and
I don't
like their
count the
spin-off thing,
spin-offs.
but
I
I'm
don't
saying they're
count
thinking
that.
outside the box with Ratchet and
Right.
Clank. There's been a ton of fucking Ratchet games, so it's
Yeah.
hard, especially earlier on because it felt like there's one every year or every 2 years. It was
Right.
just getting kind of repetitive.
Mhm.
But I'm glad, like, I liked the gap between 2016 and this one. It felt
Totally.
really good to come back to it now.
Totally,
I didn't
yeah.
feel, yes, it felt familiar, but it had been so long, I guess, that I didn't feel the burnout where I'm like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
here we fucking go again kind of thing.
Yeah. You're right. I do think acknowledging that gap is really important. And I don't feel burnt out with it. Like I said, I am really enjoying it. It's just, it's like an odd sensation to try to fully articulate because like if I was reviewing it,
Mhm.
I would give it a high score and
Mhm.
my review would be mostly praise.
Yeah.
So it's a hard thing
You're just
to
looking
nail
for something
down.
maybe a little more from it, something unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, it's just I think I just hold Insomniac in such high
high-
regard
yeah.
that and it's the other thing is it's like I just feel like they've mastered Ratchet in
Yeah,
a
it's
way.
massive,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
really have, and I say that as a compliment. And it's like, well, what, man? Where did they go from here? Because
Yeah.
you're right, Brad. You know, they have had weird things, and I hated All for One. I thought
Yeah.
the game
And
was
Full
bad.
Frontal Assault. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, is it like a lose-lose position if they do some crazy idea?
Right.
You know, would that stray too far
I
away
wonder
from what you
if
want?
they'll
in a
follow
Ratchet game?
the open world steps, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, they have like really big areas in this game, so I wonder if they'll just double down on that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Shout out to two things. One, giving like continuing the franchise for fans that have
Mhm.
been
Around
part
forever.
of it through various entries, you know,
Yeah.
continuing the story, but also inviting new players in.
Mhm.
Like it happens every time with new games nowadays, but like so much Ratchet and Clank hype when this thing immediately came out. Just
Mhm.
people experiencing this franchise for the first time. So I think they did a really good job of somehow threading the needle for both, where it feels like a continuation of the franchise, but also a really good entry point if you've never really played these games.
Mhm.
And then the other side is just how easy breezy this game is to play. You
Yeah.
know, you're doing so much, it's throwing a lot at you. There's all these guns and everything,
Mhm.
but it's like never confusing.
Yeah,
It's
Yep.
never annoying or
Right.
frustrating. When
But
you
it's-
die, you're back in there. Like
yeah.
it's just so easy breezy comforting, but also like not talking down to the audience.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because accessibility in games and difficulty is something I think a lot about and how hard it can be to balance. And there is absolutely an easy breeziness to Rift Apart, but I never like there are some games I play now where it's like I think you're taking out player agency too much, or you're simplifying it too much, or you're too afraid to challenge them in a way. And I like Rift Apart, it is so easy breezy, again, kind of going back to that flow, and just like opening the map, being like, I gotta go get that raritanium.
Yeah.
Like it's just like an immediately understandable loop,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like it is too simple, you know?
Mhm.
Like I think, you know, going back to praise for Insomniac, like they are relentless with ideas. It's like I go on this rift, where am I going to end up? What challenges they're going to be? What
Yeah.
world am I going to be in? What puzzles am I going to have to solve? What giant boss am I going to fight? And so they're just constantly throwing things to fight, things to collect, things to explore, that it's a game I could recommend to everyone.
Anyone,
Yep.
yeah.
Like whether you are the
Everyone.
most hardcore of hardcore
Yeah.
gamers, or like you're just getting started.
Yeah. Child's first game.
Yeah, it totally could be. And I don't
Yeah.
mean that as an insult. Yeah, it has like the appeal of a Mario, and I feel like almost
Mhm.
very few things can be so wide-reaching so effectively.
Totally.
Mhm.
Which is just fantastic. And boy, shout out. I think animation is something that we don't criticize enough as fans of games.
Yep.
Because I think we're just used to it. Like we're just used to like lip syncing being kind of off or animations
Yeah.
being stiff. Like you don't even like really think about it anymore. But we really should, because Ratchet and Clank the animation is incredible.
so good.
It's
So
like
absurd.
it's insane.
The
Both-
transitions from like cutscene
Yes,
to gameplay is just
yes.
what are you even doing?
Yes, and I think it again it contributes to that game flow that I was talking about earlier. But just like every single action that you're doing and the emotions that the characters can display, and like they even use it for like physical comedy. It's just like eye candy. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Shout out, the biggest shout out to the Morts.
Yes, the Morts are
My
great. Yeah.
favorite NPCs of 2021.
Yes.
Gonna be hard to beat. The Morts.
Mort says you have to save Mort. Yeah. it's
So
great, it's
good.
great. Mhm.
Loved the Morts.
Mhm.
Yeah, that game sure is pretty to look at.
Yeah.
And just the refinement of everything feeding in on itself, obviously exploration, raritanium, all that stuff, and just how distinct each planet was.
Yep.
Thought
Yep.
the planets this time around were
Great.
really strong.
Really good planets.
I loved all the challenge rifts.
Me too.
That had like their
Yes.
own little types of platforming.
The challenge
to
rifts are
break up.
great, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is so good.
I would love how, like the first challenge rift that you do it, and they're like, "Oh, this is where the parade floats ended up." You know, like
Yeah.
they even like contextualized it a
Yeah.
little bit, which was cool. This game is just so well
It's just delightful.
thought out.
Mhm.
Like going back to the raritanium. So for those of you who aren't familiar, raritanium is what you use to upgrade weapons, and I sometimes I get frustrated with upgrades in games because now it's in every game, right? And it's just too spaced out. So it's like I get a little upgrade, and then like multiple hours later, I get another little upgrade, and it's just like so incremental that you're just not that excited about it. Raritanium's all over the fucking place.
Mhm.
Like it in a way that is really good. And I think they really thought this game out so perfectly because you get so many guns. But to compensate, you get so much raritanium that you can just kind of dump it into everything. And so you don't fall into that pigeonhole of like, well, I've upgraded this weapon the most, so I'm just going to rely on it.
Mhm.
You can really they design the game in this wonderful way where you can rely on your entire
Yep,
arsenal.
they really encourage that.
Leveling up the guns to be able to spend the raritanium,
Yeah.
and then that unlocking like the gold icons.
Yes.
So it's like,
Mhm.
do I want to like get this gold thing, even though it's like some upgrades I don't really need,
Right.
but like the gold one is the best, so I
Yep.
want to do that. Yeah,
Yep.
just addiction.
It's super good.
Addiction.
And you know, I talked about the contextualization of the challenge rifts and the parade floats and all that stuff, but also just buying weapons and upgrading weapons. Like, think about how many times you play a game and that's just a fucking menu.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a black box, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
the green arrow's pointing up, I'll get that one. There's no personality to it whatsoever. Here, it's like it's a theater. You know, you're dealing with Miss Zircon, and then you do the weapon demos, and you get the guy like
Narrating.
narrating the
Jr.
whole thing,
So
and it's
good.
just like every possible thing that they could shove some flavor and personality into, they did, and it really benefits the game.
Watch it go. Boom.
Yeah,
I don't-
man,
man.
it's great.
They do a really good job, I think, with humor in these games too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Humor is like a huge hit or miss for me in video games a lot of times. I'm just like, fuck, that sucked, or I'm really into it.
Yeah,
And I think Ratchet
so
walks
much
a really good line.
totally. The last one I played was the 2016 remake, which I actually liked quite a bit.
Mhm.
I know some people don't, but I think just straight up the humor is much better in Rift Apart. Things are landing
Yeah. Well,
way more than
I
in
think
the
back
remake.
to like Sunset Overdrive, and I think they
Yeah.
go overboard with it in that game. Where
So-
Yeah,
sometimes I'm
they
just like,
definitely do.
ugh. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like they got a really sweet spot in this game.
Yeah. It's weird because like Sunset Overdrive definitely feels like it's trying too hard, and like how apparent its effort is almost makes it not funny. But here, like it just doesn't force it. Like
Right.
it's not constantly shoving it down your throat, and it's okay with like not being hilarious, just kind of being cute and goofy.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I think it really,
Yep.
you know, benefits from that as well.
absolutely.
Excited to play more of it.
Hell of a game.
Boy, I've got so many games.
Do you guys
to
ever
get
think
through.
of Tidus when you hear Ratchet talk?
No,
Because I do.
no.
Same guy. I'm pretty
Same
sure.
guy, yeah.
I think he's Obi-Wan in Clone Wars too. I think.
Cool.
So
I
think of-
really,
I think of Tidus when I see
I
Ratchet.
think I Ratchet.
I don't know who the voice actor is, but Obi-Wan in Clone Wars is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
mean, like both the
great.
performance of him and Anakin, they're wonderful in Clone. Watch Clone Wars; it's very good.
Clone Wars.
Speaking of other things that we're playing, Brad, you finished it. Huber, you haven't played it yet. I'm on chapter 2. I'm hopefully going to finish it tonight. And that is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission. So the DLC starring Yuffie.
Yuffie Kusuragi.
Cody.
I know that on
Cody.
some level, my appreciation for it is coming from my undying and burning love of Final Fantasy VII and Yuffie as a character.
Fair enough.
But I think trying to remove that as much as possible, I think this DLC is just excellent.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like, if you played Final Fantasy VII Remake,
It's essential playing.
I know that PS5s are hard to get a hold of,
Yep.
but like
Yeah.
whenever you can, this DLC is so goddamn good. It just has the perfect tone. And I have a lot of stuff to say, but before I launch into it, Brad, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Obviously, humongous shoes to fill, especially in a new part that wasn't in the original game, like a whole new kind of story and everything like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have big expectations, and I thought they did a damn good job bringing Yuffie into this universe, especially with how well she plays and how
Yes.
different she feels from everyone else. They keep nailing it with character combat in these
Yes,
games.
they do. And it like only reinforces my opinion that I think the combat in
that
Final Fantasy
combat.
VII Remake is like, I want them to pursue this even harder because I think this is like a way forward for the genre. It's so good. And Yuffie like epitomizes that, where I feel like you can say this about every character in 7 Remake, where they have unique mechanics, but they're not overly complicated. Like, there are things that you can practice and you learn just by battling, where you're like, oh, I should set this up, or I should like return the shuriken on flying enemies because then I'll automatically like, you just learn through fighting, which is the best way to learn.
Yep.
It's not getting in your face. It's not like, yammering on and on and on about how to do every little nuance. You just figure out by playing. But even the most basic action, just holding down square to auto attack, like, the animations are just so good, and like there's just such a flourish to it that it's just fun, just like flipping around as Yuffie. It's great. It's great.
Some really cool references too from the original game in there too.
Yeah. That's
The Happy Turtle specifically is a real good Easter egg.
I'm trying to think.
So the Happy Turtle was a bar in the original one in Yuffie's
Okay.
town,
Okay.
and there was posters you could find in the world in Final Fantasy VII.
Mhm.
Could do that here again now. So they just kind of put it in this little DLC, which is a nice little callback.
That's
if you
very cool.
Remember from
That's
the other
very
ones.
cool.
I did not remember that from the
cool
Internet
shit.
It's a
Fantasy
really
VII.
small thing, but I just
Yeah.
appreciate things like that.
I mean, even on its own here, the Happy Turtle is just great. Like,
You're gonna love this guy.
the guy.
This guy is a huge.
Yeah, I don't even. I'm not gonna say anymore. He's just.
It's just delightful.
He's delightful, and the little quest that you do for him is delightful.
That reminds me, quick aside, back
Yeah.
to Ratchet for 1 second. Did
Yes.
you read the galleries that I told you to read?
I read some of them. I haven't been through all of them yet.
Okay.
though. I need to go back and
There's a
still
cool
read
Easter
stuff
egg.
and listen to stuff.
There's a cool Easter egg in the Ratchet Rift Apart gallery where the characters are and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look. Take a look in there. Cool Easter egg.
There's lots of cool Easter eggs in that game.
Yeah. Humor as well. We were talking about that in Ratchet and Clank. Also applies to Intermission here in 7 Remake, and I actually think the humor was wonderful in the main game of 7 Remake.
They've gotten a lot better.
But man, they just nailed it. Like Yuffie, an optional character in 7, you don't need to interact with her to finish the game, and definitely a more lighthearted character. And
Stark contrast from Cloud and stuff.
Right,
Which is fun.
yeah, and
Hidden Leaf.
not that all the characters can't be goofy, but
She's
like,
definitely the most.
the way that they tell her story here, like, there's jokes about like her being a kid and like her trying to understand like adult entertainment and just all of this stuff, and it's just so wholesome and cute. And the Avalanche group that she's interacting with, they're all wonderful characters. They're really a blast to get to know. And then like as you're going along, like it starts out very lighthearted, but you kind of learn more about Yuffie and Wu-Tai and the partner that she's
Wu-Tai.
with, and it gets into more serious stuff. But it never like feels like it comes to a screeching halt.
It's not like Sephiroth levels of intensity.
No. And,
No,
like, there's a boss that you fight And there's this little like dance that Yuffie has, and I just was sitting there watching it, being like, "This is like a dream come true." You know, this is like a character.
I knew you were gonna love this.
I love it so. I can't. I have nothing but good things to say about it. The only negative that I have is I'm almost done with it, and it's just like, no, like don't take me away. I don't know when we're gonna get 7 Remake Part 2, but this is so good, and it's cool because it's Yuffie's story is happening at the same time as the main. The story in 7 Remake, and so it's cool to kind of see things from another angle as well. And you think about it, and like they're just repurposing environments. Like, and there's not that many places that you go to, and it's like I've been here before, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't fucking matter because like how they use those areas is just so incredibly well done. And even the way that you interact with the world, right? So Yuffie has this giant shuriken. There are boxes like kind of hidden throughout the world, and they even make like a little game out of it where you can just go and it's like, oh, I see something up there, and you throw it, and it's like, you know, it's a tiny, tiny thing, but it's like, I feel like Yuffie, like they're making this. It doesn't feel like, you know, like a DLC where I'm just playing as Cloud Part 2.
Yeah.
It's like it's just a very unique thing.
I really appreciated that sense. Even on like the navigating of the levels, besides the shuriken, just the running on the walls and just even like the elevators that take you up made going through a lot of the environments just a little more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm expecting stuff like that in Part 2 more.
And you know, we mentioned the Happy Turtle guy. That there's a song that plays that's so good and infectious. Hubert, do you know what Fort Condor is in this?
I'm more excited for Fort Condor than the actual game. Straight up.
I don't know how anyone plays Intermission, encounters the Fort Condor minigame, and then just doesn't do all of it. I don't know how you walk away. Like
I was addicted.
I was addicted. I just did it all like immediately. So in reference to the Fort Condor minigame in Final Fantasy VII, they kind of do their own spin on it, and it's this like in-game video game where it's you versus your opponent, and you summon units and you try to take out their base. So it's this little RTS minigame. And kind of like I'm saying with everything else in Intermission, like it's just complex enough. You know, you think about like, oh, what is this RTS minigame? Like, is it going to be too long and drawn out? And it's just like, you immediately get it, but there's a ton of depth there. And you go around, it's exciting. You go to shops because you're like, oh, they might be selling a new unit for me. And when you win, or when you defeat somebody in battle, you get Condor coins. You can redeem those for exclusive stuff. And so it's like
the buzz is so strong, Ben. It's do you think they could do a Gwent situation here and just like expand it into its own game?
They totally could.
They totally could.
Do you think they will?
Yes, it's Square Enix.
Like I've seen nothing but hype on this thing. People are so in love with this game.
You know, it's funny. Let's talk about Gwent for a second because they released Gwent as its own thing.
Yeah. Way more complicated than the base game.
More
depth.
I honestly think the magic was gone in a weird way. I don't even think that it's bad. I'm not trying to say that, but there's something about
a game within
a game within a game and being a character and learning about other people's. And I don't want to spoil it in Intermission, but who you challenge,
it's good.
And how they do that kind of adds to the charm.
Yeah, because Gwent that really added it.
Yeah,
like the world building and everything. Like the dwarves that wanted like their own Skellige deck to be part of the official rules. Like that stuff sucks you in and makes the game even better.
Yeah, and I think there's something too, because if you go and you beat the Grandmaster in Intermission, you get a Materia and you get Gil, and so you get things that you can apply to other aspects of the game. And I think that's part of it too, because if you just separate it, it's just like, well, the rewards that I'm getting only apply, like I'll just get like more cards or more units or something. And there's something about like getting to the top and then like being stronger in battle for committing the time to do that minigame.
Definitely hope they bring it back for Part 2.
Yeah,
just
I do
add
too.
to it.
I do too.
Felt like a cool little experiment that worked
Was there
out.
a minigame in Part 1 at all?
A minigame?
There
was like the darts and stuff like that.
The
pull-ups.
The pull-ups. Yeah, the gym, dude. Okay.
There was the destroying the boxes.
The boxes. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. I loved all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's like the arena, I guess, if you want to count that as one too.
Yeah, the arena was great.
Arena's cool.
So they'll be back at Gold Saucer since there is an arena there already.
Yeah, Gold Saucer will probably have all the
I
mini games plus more.
am going to lose my mind. Like,
Dude, Gold Saucer better be like
I know, it better be
first-person
good.
roller coaster, dude. VR. Let's go. Suck me in.
there's enough going on at Gold Saucer that it could just be its own chapter of 7 Remake. You know?
Yep.
It could just be the Gold Saucer chapter.
Yeah.
But special shout out to
Wait. Hold up.
yeah, go ahead.
Do you think they would ever do that?
What?
What if that was their... Because
DLC?
Because everyone's talking about, like, part 2 is so far away, it's so brutal, but, like,
Yeah.
this integrate, not only next-gen patch, but, like, this whole Yuffie chapter and all this is such a nice step to part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Bridges that gap, because the fear of how long that wait was going to be was unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they could ever do, like you're saying, in between parts 2 and 3, or before part 2, like maybe next year,
There won't be anything else before part 2.
You don't think?
No.
Are they,
I'm
okay.
pretty sure they said no.
So I was gonna say if
But
they did
between 2
like
and 3, if there is part 3, which there probably will be,
like
then
a
yes.
Gold Saucer chapter,
Yeah,
I would be so hyped.
I
man.
mean, like, I don't know. I just
Gold Saucer will be
I know
a chapter.
not everybody
There's a lot.
loves it, but I adore this remake, and I think they've shattered my expectations
Mhm.
and things that I wanted them to. Like, I was like, how are they going to do that for the remake? Like Don Corneo and all that stuff was like some of the best part of remake. And Yuffie is so much good, but it's almost like reopening a wound in a way where like I finished part 1 of remake and I was like, thank you, that's great. I will
See you in 3
patiently wait.
years.
Mhm.
But now that I've gotten like this little
Yeah.
like 6-hour thing,
Yeah, I get that.
it's like I'm fiending again. Like
I get
I need more.
Well, I think they're full speed ahead on this game.
Nice.
So
Part 2.
I hope so. Yeah.
Cool.
Special shout out. Really want to give a huge shout out. I don't know the actors that do like Yuffie and her partner Sonon, but or the Avalanche members, but like everybody is on point. Whoever is playing Yuffie like kills it.
Mhm.
Like
she's great.
she's so
Mhm.
good, and with a character like that, I actually think Yuffie is harder to do than some of the other characters, and I've seen way too many JRPGs just completely fuck up this type of character. This sort of like bratty
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
is like usually the worst, most
Super annoying. Yeah.
party member, and you just can't wait to get rid of them. Not annoying at all. Nothing
Yeah,
that
she's
Yuffie
good.
does is great.
She's
just
real good.
super charming.
Since you guys haven't beaten it, I will say this. If you're coming to this game for the first time, make sure you play the original game or the remake, all of it first.
Yes.
All of it.
Yeah.
Then come to this.
Yeah.
Don't play where it starts in the story and hop between them.
No. Yeah.
Director's cut.
Yeah.
Saying, make sure to play the full game first.
Yeah, the other thing, it's funny because I was away from 7 Remake for so long when I was jumping into Yuffie that, like, at the very beginning, I was like, I don't even remember how to play this game. Like, I just don't remember how combat works. So it definitely took me a second to refamiliarize myself with the controls.
Yo, can we talk about how sick it is, the synergized stuff? That's like my favorite thing in this.
I actually have not messed around with the
What?
Synergized
Dude,
stuff yet.
Synergize is the best. Okay, so
Yeah, I have it. I
Since
just
you
haven't-
don't know, so the other character who fights with you named Sonon, you do not directly control and like switch between the characters like in 7 or the original 7. You can make him do special abilities, but there's this thing called Synergize. You push L2, and Sonon will immediately focus and attack whatever you are together with you.
Focus fire.
So you'll do like really fast damage.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Synergy Materia.
No, not
Okay,
that.
That's what I thought you were
No,
saying.
no, not the synergy material. But yeah, so like you'll do crazy attacks together. But if you both have an ATB gauge, he can do combo attacks with you. So you're like, there's like a whirlwind thing you can do by yourself as Yuffie. But if you do it with him, he'll be involved in the move, like a dual attack almost. And you'll do more damage.
Very
But
cool.
if
Very
you're synergized with him, his ATB gauge goes a lot slower.
Got it.
So you're really encouraged to hop between them a lot.
That's really cool.
Which adds a sick extra layer of depth. I'm curious they're going to expand upon that in part
Yeah.
2.
That sounds fun.
I also really like, there's a weapon that you get for Yuffie, or not a weapon, sorry, it's like an accessory or something, and you get like different chips that can plug into it, but it only works with that accessory. And it's like, okay, if you use this accessory and you plug it in, your damage will be proportional to the amount of HP that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, oh, okay, I definitely want to keep myself tops up because I'll do way more damage. And then there's another chip that's like, okay, it'll do the inverse of whatever your MP is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a cool little like, oh, it's adding a new wrinkle to combat, which is really But yeah, that synergy stuff with Sonon, I haven't messed around with.
Do it.
His abilities are really useful.
Yeah.
For filling the stagger gauge and stuff. And his limit break is
Yeah,
powerful.
it's really cool. I'm telling you, mess with it.
Yeah, I definitely will. Like I said, I got chapter 2.
Yep.
To go through. I don't want it to end. Like I wish. Like I think for what it is, I think there's like the perfect amount of stuff. I think I'll end up spending about 6 hours on it total.
Mm-hmm.
Having done everything,
Mm-hmm.
but.
That's so funny, Ben. That's like Beth and I with TV shows. If we have like the finale, sometimes we'll just like save it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to
I don't want to
drag our feet.
To me, this has been like a bonus. I did not expect anything like this.
It's a free roll.
So I was very pleased. I was like, yes, thank you. You can take your time, though, for part 2. It's okay. I'll wait.
Hey, just give me Final Fantasy 16. How about that?
It's coming. Exactly.
Just give me Final Fantasy 16.
Better be able to name your characters. Yeah, I'm naming mine Naruto.
In 16, I doubt it. I think the days of that are gone for like the big ones.
Did you name your Dragon's Dogma Pawns Naruto characters?
He named his Dark Souls 3 character Boruto.
I do remember that.
I saw.
Like last year. Yeah. All right, so we've been talking about.
I think my pawn was named Hogger, Ben.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good pawn name.
Great name. Did I tell you they added Hogger to Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah.
Great addition.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this new old RPG, but Huber, you've been kind of taking a trip to the past with Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And it's funny because we had Brandon on the show, and it's his first time with Mass Effect, so it was interesting getting his perspective. But you're revisiting these games; you've already played them, and so what has that return journey been like?
So magical, so effing magical, dude. This is a series I've always liked. Somehow I've avoided the spoiler of 3. Somehow.
So you haven't played 3?
Never finished it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played it
I don't
either.
know. Yeah, I don't know how that ending didn't get ruined.
Yeah,
for you, 'cause
I have
everybody was
somehow
complaining about it.
played the Citadel DLC in 3 for like capture it game trailers maybe. So I've like
Oh, did you play all the DLC?
most of it.
Oh, okay. The
And
Citadel DLC is amazing.
I know, but
Yeah, it's
and I was
very
playing
good.
it out of context, so I don't remember that, you know, but I remember like capturing it at game trailers. So somehow I've dodged the ending of this thing, which is so exciting. Never played Andromeda, so I'm like all in on Mass Effect.
I don't know about it.
I know. Hey, I heard though they were patching that thing for an entire year.
No.
better.
The reason why I say that with such conviction is I was like, Mass Effect Andromeda is the only Mass Effect game I haven't played through.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it another spin because like I was like I remember liking some things about it.
Yeah.
And this was like a couple of months ago.
Oh,
like this was recent.
Oh,
This was
all
recent.
patched
Oh, no.
up.
Yeah. This was like on the Xbox
All
Series
patches
X. I was playing
enabled.
this. Yeah.
Dude.
Jeez.
And we get comments all the time that people are like, "Oh, Mass Effect Andromeda is better than people say it is." It's, and I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna have a great time."
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Oh, shit.
Oh God.
I was like, "Oh, this is like way worse than I remember it
Oh,
being."
no.
And that almost never happens.
Yeah, that's rare.
That's strong of a feeling for me, anyway.
Totally.
And I was like, I can't.
That's
I
depressing.
can't do this.
Straight
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, this Legendary Edition just has 1 through 3.
Yeah. And I don't,
Yeah.
if you're going, like you said, this journey is magical.
Yeah, we'll
so-
see how I get by then. You know,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
see
yeah.
how invested I am.
Mhm.
But I just started 2 the other night, and to me, 2 is the high point of the series.
Yes.
And 1, honestly, not hyperbolic. I think it's one of the greatest games ever made. Is Mass Effect 2,
Yeah.
without a doubt. The writing, the atmosphere, the way everything is just tightened up from the first one. Like exploration in the first one is such a pain in the ass. You don't know where you've been. You don't know what planets you've landed on
Everything
or what
looks
you've
the
explored.
same.
Everything looks the same. Everything is
Yeah.
so boring. All the upgrades and economy is just so convoluted and not fun. The stupid hacking mini game to open
Yeah.
up everything. Like
2 just has so much more weight to its combat.
2 is so freaking good. And I was thinking about like compared to like The Witcher 3 or something, just like the modern gold standard of like Western RPGs or just like this type of game. And there's just so much dialogue in Mass Effect 2.
Mhm.
The majority of the game is conversations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of combat. You're blasting people.
Mhm.
That's another big improvement from 2 over 1 is just the force of combat.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the weight.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like combat is okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Not great. Not bad. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But the weight of everything you do just feels so good. Like
Yeah.
the heavy pistol. But it just comes down to the writing and how memorable it is and how tight it is to the story. It's so focused. Like the biggest thing I can say about Mass Effect 2 is the focus.
Mhm.
You're recruiting your team for a mission. That's it. Like that
Yeah.
is really the main plot point. It doesn't, doesn't cascade into like all these double crosses and all these million plot lines. It's like you recruit everyone.
Yeah.
They have their own personal story, their bond, like loyalty mission.
Then you go on a suicide
And
mission.
and like the side quests kind of like flesh out some other like world building aspects of it.
Well, and those loyalty missions are just so excellent.
They're so
like
good.
getting to know your crew
Yeah.
is incredible. And you're right about the focus, and it makes me. First of all, I just want to say, look, whatever your favorite Mass Effect is, I
Yeah.
totally respect that opinion.
Yeah.
You can,
But
you-
it's 2.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, you can, whatever Mass Effect is your favorite, that's totally cool. I just don't personally understand how it isn't too. You know what I mean? Like, you can't convince me that it isn't too.
Omega is sick. The music, all these things, like
the music's phenomenal.
like this is
yeah.
such a great.
Mhm.
Like
There
the
is
dream-
one thing about Mass Effect 2 that sucks.
Let's hear it.
Just definitively bad.
Yeah.
That final boss is terrible.
Okay. I don't remember the final boss. It's been so long. I played it in 2010
Okay.
or 11, Ben. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
It's bad.
I remember I lost like one person in my suicide mission at the time.
Didn't lose anybody.
Nice.
I lost a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No,
You're like, I don't want to do this shit. Let's
Well,
end
it's
the
because
game.
it's like it only fucking matters at the last mission with your goddamn
They
shit.
tell you. They tell
I know,
you.
but it's like this whole fucking game about making choices, and it's just this one little part of the game. It doesn't matter what I've done with the rest of the fucking game with all these people. It's just this one stupid fucking moment.
What moment?
The ship. It's
Yeah,
the ship.
You have to upgrade your ship throughout the entire game.
I'm talking about all the shit I've been through the party members, all
Yeah.
their fucking side stories. None of that like mattered
Yeah.
about them living or dying. It's just this one little thing, and I was expecting more from a game that was so
No.
hyped up about choice.
All the ship upgrades matter, and if your crew is loyal or not matters for who dies and stuff. There's a lot.
The
to
ship is
that.
what fucked me.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
You didn't read because clearly it says, "Yo, the ship will help your people live or die on missions."
I think
Brad.
that's stupid.
That's on you.
I know it's on me, and I think it's fucking stupid in a game that was hyped about so much player choice and shit when it just came down to the ship.
So much player choice in this game. Real consequences. Honestly, name a more high stakes game, dude. I'll wait. Your entire crew in this game can die. I think it's so powerful. You build these bonds throughout this entire game. And the best thing about this Legendary Edition, we all know that these games carry over, but having it all in this one package matters even more. You know, right when I booted up 2, it was like, all right, here's all your imports and your choices from 1.
Mm-hmm.
You lost Ashley. She's dead now. Not going to be in the next ones. Same with 2, depending on your suicide mission, how that goes. That will then carry into 3. So it just, everything is so heightened and the stakes are so high, but it still manages to get so intimate with all these storylines and all these characters. Like, I can't praise this game enough, and it holds up.
The question that I've been burning to ask you, thinking about Mass Effect 2, is you use the word focus, and I think that's so on point. Because I love, and have spent countless hours playing big, sprawling, open world RPGs. You know, you mentioned Witcher. Obviously, I think your Bethesda games or something like Outer Worlds is definitely kind of like this. Just sort of the more open, sprawling games. But Mass Effect 2 is very, very focused, and it's frustrating because I feel like when you make a AAA RPG now, it has to be super sprawling.
Yeah.
It has to be.
It has to be Valhalla.
Right, and I
300 hours.
I would love, something like a Mass Effect 2 again, where it's just not that of course there's like side stuff that you can do, but it's just like you're getting to know somebody. Like it's almost all killer, no filler. You know? And it doesn't overstay its
1
welcome.
has a lot of filler, but 2 absolutely is all killer.
Yeah, and 1 definitely drags.
Yeah.
It does do if you dig into it. Learning about the world is amazing.
Super
What
cool
worlds,
stuff, for sure.
But yeah, 2 just it's a ride, man.
It is such a ride.
It's a
Yeah, I
ride.
do remember liking 2.
Yeah.
Because one, dude, like the jump from 2 to 1.
Yeah, I didn't really like
So
1.
big.
I beat 1 and I thought it was
Yeah.
kind of boring at the time.
Yeah, and I remember same. I was like, 1 was good, and then 2 just
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 is a big leap for
Very
sure.
curious to see
Sings.
what you think about 3.
yeah. And back in the day, I did male shepherd, so this time I'm doing female shepherd.
Yeah.
Jennifer Hale.
Yeah,
I mean, who
one of the
even
greats.
voices? No disrespect. Who voiced the?
I mean-
who voiced male shepherd? Because like, Jennifer Hale is like one of the best in the biz of all time. Like,
Listen, I know everybody sings the praises of female shepherd.
Yeah.
I think female shepherd's awesome.
Mhm.
I played male shepherd
Yeah, I
when
like
I
them
went
both.
to this game.
I like them both. Can't go wrong.
I also had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool because this feels like I'm just getting so much nostalgia and comfort,
Yeah.
but everything feels new again, obviously because of the remaster and the technical side of it, but then all the DLC that I missed. Like I
Yeah.
recruited
And Mass Effect
Kasumi.
has some great DLC.
Yeah, I recruited the implant chip lady.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I never had her in my game back in the day.
Yeah.
So I did some whole big like Hitman style heist infiltration.
Yep.
I was like, this is sick.
Yep.
New Mass Effect 2 content for me in the year 2021.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I didn't like about 2 is you didn't have Rex with you in the party. I was pissed about that.
I know.
I was like, you took away my favorite party member?
Legendary moment, dude. My friend lost Rex
Oh,
in Mass Effect 1 or 2,
Yeah.
whichever one you can lose him in. And like didn't have his save got overrided or something. Replayed the entire game to save Rex.
yeah. Man, I think about Mass Effect, it's kind of interesting. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of big games like that where your choices go into the sequel so
It's-
hard
yeah.
anymore.
And with this Legendary Edition, dude, it's so freaking cool. It's just like this one, it feels like seasons, dude. Like, all right, we're gonna watch season 1 of Mass Effect. All right, we're gonna move on to season 2.
Yeah.
It just has this connective tissue that runs through it all.
And like,
I was getting emails on my computer in Mass Effect 2 thanking me for side quests I did
yeah,
in 1,
yeah,
dude. I
yeah.
was like, this game right now
Yeah.
has me completely obsessed and absorbed.
also, like, how many video games make you truly emotional? You
Yeah.
know? Like, there are moments throughout the Mass Effect story that
Yeah.
are just like a fucking punch in the gut.
Gut
Mm.
punches.
Yeah. Dude,
It's
I
so
know
good.
people in the comments are going to say, like, well, you know, there are reasons for why it happened, or OEA or whatever. And I know there are reasons for it, but, like, you think about the trajectory of Mass Effect, and it's, like, amazing. It almost
Yeah.
feels impossible. Like, Mass Effect had the world by the balls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like it was just, like,
On top.
it was
Yeah.
like, it was on top of the world. It was, like, in a world where we're so dominated by names that carry so much power, it broke through all that and like stood among giants.
Yeah.
And now it's just like
Yeah.
running on fumes.
It's on the
it
back
feels
foot.
like.
It
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
the next one needs
I
to
mean,
Yeah.
all of BioWare kind of is.
Yeah,
all their
no, I
games.
know. It
yeah.
is, but it's crazy how that happens. And
yeah.
you know, we talk about Blizzard, the same thing where it's like,
Yeah.
what
From the top
yeah.
to
The
who
bottom.
But-
cares?
There is a new Mass Effect coming.
Yeah.
Let's hope
it's
it's
great.
good.
Yep.
Yeah, lastly, that was the big selling point. You touched on it a little bit. Someone in chat, I forget, but someone was like, because I was like debating whether or not to play them all, you know, it's such a
Mhm.
big undertaking. Someone in chat was like, I just love that the whole trilogy is as long as like one JRPG. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. And then I was looking it up, and yeah, you can get through this entire trilogy in less than 100 hours.
Yeah.
3 huge RPGs.
Man, most
Less than
JRPGs
100.
aren't that long though.
Like 60, 70.
No.
Three Houses is what, like 60, right?
Well, yeah.
No,
Like
I wouldn't say.
Persona took me 100.
I mean, Persona I think is one of the longest
Persona
in a long
is-
time.
yeah.
very long.
I play a lot of modern JRPGs in there.
How long
They're
do you
not
think
that
that
long.
is?
I would say
What's the average?
now you get a new JRPG, I'd say you're looking at about 40 hours.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you know, case
40.
by case.
It depends on yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway,
40 hours.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm using that number as canon now.
Yeah,
by
I'd
the
say
way.
like yeah, a lot
Average
of them, like
JRPG, if
40,
somebody asked
30,
me-
40, yeah.
Yeah.
If someone on the street says, hey, you, how long's the average JRPG? I'm going to say it's about 40 hours.
I mean, I think it can fluctuate pretty hard.
Of course
I would say
it can, but
I'd say like the average JRPG length is like between 30 and 50 probably.
especially if you're playing newer ones.
Yeah. And
Got it.
you know, it depends on the kind of player that you are as well, where it's like I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm usually main plus extras.
Tack on 20 plus just for side stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a ton of long JRPGs out there. Like, if you're gonna boot up Dragon Quest 7, like you're gonna play that game forever.
Yeah.
But
12 or was 11's awesome? Yeah, 11 took me 100 or
yeah,
so.
11. I think 11.
So the last two I've played have been 100. Yeah.
I think 11 took me over 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. It.
Yeah. Behemoth.
But
Loved
shorter,
every minute.
there's
of it,
shorter
though.
ones out there.
Hubert, it's so funny because I have a lot of love in my heart for Mass Effect pre-Andromeda. And I can't will myself to play Legendary Edition because, not because I don't think I would enjoy it. And you're right, I make different choices, play as Female Shepherd. There's definitely stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it, and I say this as a compliment. When the fun of Mass Effect was going on that journey with those characters and seeing their fates unfold. I think I just can't do it now that I already know what those fates are.
I forget the fates, Ben.
Oh, okay.
So that's my biggest thing is I totally forget because I didn't finish 3.
I remember a lot of it.
And not having that definitive ending in 3.
You saying that you haven't done 2 DLC or haven't finished 3, that makes more sense to me, for sure.
Isn't the ending different in 3 now?
They did change it, yeah.
Because people hated
about
it?
3 months. I was looking into all the patches and the DLC in detail. 3 months or so after release, they did the extended cut.
Yeah, I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which didn't alleviate much, was the word around the campfire.
Oh.
I
have no idea, but if the ending was bad, I would have been pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost seems kind of like a Game of Thrones situation where Mass Effect was on the very top, could do no wrong, 10 out of 10, legendary, and then not forgotten, but shrug. All because of an ending, you gotta stick that landing.
I would say more because of another game that just fucked it up.
Well, the dramatic
Andromeda.
Oh, yeah.
Just dramatic resonances and falls are so interesting. Well, Andromeda got saddled with the Frostbite engine. It was a whole mess. But anyway, man, even just thinking about the rise and current rough situation of CD Projekt Red, it's crazy.
Yep. Mass Effect, it's there. Whole package, highly recommend. Great remaster. Runs well, looks great. One is one straddles the line of remake. They did so much to that game to tie it to 2 and 3, like some of the combat and
that's nice.
Character stuff and visually as well.
Man, it's hard not to recommend that collection to someone.
It is an incredible package. Highest praise. And I just love revisiting games, especially one that had such a big impact as to truly think it's one of the
I'd like to replay those.
Yeah.
I think that the Mass Effect trilogy, if you've never played it, I think it is a true must play.
Must play.
It is a defining series from the last generation.
Yeah. Especially with the new one coming, dude. It's gonna be all relevant here. What if
2 generations?
Dude, what if you could import your legendary edition save?
You're right. 2
4?
generations.
That'd be wild.
I would put it right up there with I think everybody should play the original BioShock as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's at that caliber for sure.
Completely agree. Completely.
It's time. Where the show is progressing, so it's time to get us in the hot seat and have a sizzle a little bit.
Oh shit!
Ask us a question that'll hopefully get us to debate and talk it out. And Hubert, this was going to be different, but because we're talking about Mass Effect, I'm going to change it a little bit.
Nice.
Oh.
And change the sizzle on the fly.
Brad, do you remember what you said when your ship blew up?
No.
Were you just pissed?
Yeah. I just don't think I expected that. I expected them maybe to die in a fight or
just your ship.
I picked the wrong dialogue or something. But I just remember
flying in, ship
one of them just fucking dying awkwardly on the ship floor. I was like, what the fuck? Are you dead? And they're like, oh, we lost him. I was like, what?
So good.
Which is fun because stuff like that never really happens to me in games. So it's funny.
Yeah.
For this sizzle,
I need to revisit it and see how I feel about it now.
I'm going to ask, who is the... And I'm not talking minor characters. They have to be somebody that you can have in your party. Who is the worst Mass Effect character?
Caden.
Who's
Caden
that?
Olenko.
I don't even remember.
It is Caden.
Yeah, it's Caden.
It's Caden.
Boring.
Everything he says, I hate.
Filler Caden.
I don't Ashley's rough too. I think
they're both bad.
Ashley gets a little bit of redemption in Citadel. She's more likable there.
Damn
than
it,
in
she's
anything.
dead in mine, dude.
You saved Caden?
Dude, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I thought because
So wait a minute. No. This is not a complicated
Yeah,
question. Is Caden alive in your game?
Caden
right
is
now?
alive. I saved Caden.
What are you doing?
I don't know, dude. I don't know how it happened. It was the panic of the moment. Something about a nuke going off.
Wait, the guy and the girl?
Yeah,
the guy's alive in your game?
Yep.
He sucks.
But I think the girls suck too, from what I
She
remember.
does
They're
suck.
both bad.
They're both
both
shit,
bad.
so,
they're
like-
both bad.
And
yeah.
cut content, you were gonna be able to save both, but they cut it. So
Oh.
one of them has to go. Spoiler shit.
I mean, this game's fucking.
They're both bad. Somehow Caden is even worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so outside of Caden and Ashley, who do you think is the worst?
Dude, God, it's definitely not Thane or Garrus or Rex.
Thane is amazing.
Thane's so good.
Yeah, I love Thane.
Which one was Thane?
Maybe
The
like
green dude?
See, this hurts too. Like Zaid or whatever is DLC kind of for 2, but he like kind of came
Oh,
packaged in.
yeah.
The Merc.
Yeah.
He's like so tropey. He
Mhm.
legit is just sci-fi bounty hunter trope.
I completely forgot about him.
Yeah. I like him.
I like him
I'm
too.
all in on renegade bounty hunter, 20-year veteran.
He
that
doesn't
named
lodge
his
himself
gun.
in the brain the same way the other characters do. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
He feels like he's really not part of the crew, and I guess he is a bounty hunter,
Yeah.
so he's being paid, so he's not. But like, at least with the other DLC characters, you really get a sense that they are a
Yeah.
part of this crew.
Well-
the side missions are so much more.
I don't
Maybe
want to
not.
ruin it for you, but
Yeah.
there's a character in 3 that
Okay.
yeah.
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 Yeah, so I might say him, and it feels kind of bad because, again, I do like bounty hunter tropes, but he's just so freaking
Man,
tropey. It's-
What's a bummer is there are definitely some characters they do not do justice to in 3. Like Jack is just nothing in 3. Like it's
That sucks.
like
Jack's
she
cool.
might as well not even be there.
Oh my
like
God.
it's really annoying. Yeah.
Wow.
What was Seth Green's character?
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah, Joker. Joker's great.
I love Seth Green.
Yeah.
I'm a big Seth Green fan, so.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I do like I do
like
like Joker in
Oz.
Mass Effect. Yeah, he's great. All right, so that sizzle happened pretty quickly. So I'm gonna do my original one. Who do you think the worst Final Fantasy VII character is?
Oh, Kate Sith.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it's Reeve in like a fucking like on a remote control, you know?
yeah,
I'm going to
I
say.
agree. I think he's my least favorite.
I'm going to
as well.
say it's the anime dude on the motorcycle.
No, we have to be
No.
Party
Original
members.
7. Oh, party
We have to
members.
be
members.
Party members. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah, Cat Sith.
I don't even like
He's all right.
hate.
No,
Like,
I
I'm
don't
not
hate
like-
hate.
He's not like a character.
He
that
just
makes me
doesn't
angry.
stand out.
Yeah.
We did tier maker for Bloodborne bosses today, Ben,
Yeah.
and Brad said even the worst ones on D are better than all other video games.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
even the bad party members are still so good.
There's a decision that Ketchy makes
I think
that
there's
I
a
don't
cool
like.
moment, but then
Yeah.
I don't. Never mind. I don't want to get into
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, this is not
Better
the
not
time
talk
to get
about it,
into
yeah.
7 lore. Dude, I was like trying to as I was playing Intermission, I was trying to like, what the fuck happened in 7 Remake? Like I sat there, I watched it,
Mhm.
I had long conversations about all of it,
Yep.
but it's just like it's like a Gordian knot. All
It's
right.
like Kingdom Hearts. I'll never have it all laid out in my head.
The more you
I have a
know,
general
the more you
outline
play,
in
the
my
less
head.
you know. Yeah.
General outline.
Yeah.
But yes, it does get more complex as you go on.
This sizzle is brought to you by some wonderful shout out tier patrons. It's $250 tier on our Patreon. We shout you out on all of our podcasts. If you'd like to find out more, go to patreon.com/easyallies. And once I get done reading these sponsors, gentlemen, I want you to do your best Yuffie. As you say, shout out.
Okay.
The best Yuffie impression. Think you can handle that? Shout out to Elthanas, Greg at TheDarkKnight Kettering, Caleb, Togi, Crawford, Edsgar, So I'm a Spider, So What? And finally, Esdoccal.
Believe it.
Shout out.
Yuffie Kusagaragi, Materia Hunter Expert for the Wutai government.
I just
Wutai Special Forces. Yeah.
it's so Naruto to me, dude. It's so Hidden Leaf Village.
Yeah,
like Onbu Black Ops.
It's
I
Naruto.
love
I
it.
mean, just even personality
love
wise,
It was Naruto before Naruto.
I think
Yeah.
there's comparisons you can draw between
Kishimoto was inspired.
Yuffie and Naruto for
It's a
sure.
nod.
All right, let's keep talking about games.
That game inspired like everybody at the time.
We're keeping the JRPG train rolling because I'm going to talk about Edge of Eternity,
Oh.
which
Edge of Eternity.
is a really interesting Steam JRPG made
Edge
by a
of
very
Eternity.
small team,
Never heard of
definitely
this.
on a budget. Yeah, it's fascinating. I just want to say I'm in the very beginning of this game, so these are super early impressions. So keep that in mind as you're listening to this. So this was made with Unity, and it's definitely rough, and I'll get into that. But I think I always love playing a game where I can feel like the passion and the heart and the ambition is sort of outweighing
Mhm.
the technical
and budget.
aspects. Yeah, because like this is definitely a game where it has like it was in early access, and I believe it just got out of early access if I'm correct on that. And you could definitely tell. There's so many things, like just the animations are bad. There's like a weird lack of sound. Like you get a mount and it's like, why isn't my mount making any footstep noises? Or like, characters clipping through their clothes. Just an assortment of things. But you can just, right when you boot up the game and kind of as you continue playing it, it's like, these are my people. Like these people, I can tell that like if I were to meet these developers, we would talk for 6 hours about PS1, Squaresoft, RPGs. Like that is what they love. That is what they grew up on. And you can see that influence in everything. And like, rather than, kind of do like an RPG Maker approach, they're trying to create this huge open game, right? Like you get to your first town and you go out into the field and it's totally wide open and there's things you can gather and there's enemies walking around. And there's a ton to explore. And like, again, I think the technical problems of the game kind of hurt the immersion a little bit, but you're like, wow, they really went for it. Like, and even the voice acting is hit or miss, but it's like all the major scenes are fully voice acted. And there's so much going on with the combat. And so it's funny because you get into combat and they literally call it the ATB cage. Like word for word, that's what they call it. But there's so much going on. It takes place on a grid. And what you can do is like, you can position yourself behind somebody, and so if you backstab them, you'll do extra damage. You can craft a trap and put it on the grid, so like if a creature moves into the trap, they'll get stuck, and
Nice.
you can set that up there. And then there's this whole crazy crystal system where the spells that you can cast come from crystals that you equip on this grid. And as you do side quests and that sort of thing, you'll get more crystals, and you have like a central one. And then it's like, okay, from this central crystal, I can go in this direction or this direction or this direction. But whichever direction I go, I'm locked out of the other ones. But you can switch the direction at any time. So there's a lot to think about there. When you're fighting, you'll have unique challenges where they're like, hey, if you do this, we'll give you this item. Or it's like, don't use the same ability twice. And if you manage to get through the whole fight without using the same ability twice, we'll give you this gem. There's a day-night cycle that plays into like the monsters that you fight, I believe.
Do they have red eyes at night?
Not that I've seen. But like
I like that trope.
Good question.
This whole system of like time passing plays into what elements are effective or ineffective during combat, which is really interesting. I did this side quest and I got this like adorable mount that's like a unique creature to this world. Extremely dramatic opening that really puts a lot of stakes on the table.
Shit.
I think it's funny because talking about Squaresoft RPGs, I think that's something that more or less why Final Fantasy is often so captivating is they have really strong openings.
Mm-hmm.
Even super, super old entries like Final Fantasy IV has a really great gripping and emotional opening. And I feel like they're trying to carry that forward here. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Xenogears Zoo when we streamed that.
Yeah.
The intro.
Yeah, the
was
village.
So
Yeah.
intense.
Yep. But yeah, it's funny because it's like a game that spending a little bit of time with it. I think I spent about an hour and 40 minutes just kind of getting into it and learning and doing side quests and getting a feel for everything. It's something where I got to the end of it and I was like, man, I just want to play this whole thing. I don't know that I could like recommend this to somebody, but if you're a very specific type of person where like you are or a JRPG fanatic or you have an interest in the genre, I think this sort of independent take, because I was thinking about it, like you don't get a lot of like, you don't get a ton of indie cinematic JRPGs.
Yeah.
And it's just like such a cool thing.
Cool.
I think it's a little overpriced for how rough it is. It's $30.
Okay.
I would maybe knock $10 off of that, but it's something I can imagine going on sale. But yeah, I was definitely invested in the world, in the characters. So just kind of set up the story really quick. There's this alien force that is kind of like at war with humanity, and they're responsible for spreading the sickness known as the corruption. And if you get corrupted, you will turn against your fellow man. And you're like part of the military. Or the main guy that you're playing is part of the military, and you go home to meet your sister, who's like this part of this order. She's like a priestess or sorcerer, and your mother has corruption.
Oh
no.
And so your sister's like, come home. I think I have a way to stop this. But your mother doesn't want to be cured. She's like, listen, I lived a good life. I gave you everything I had.
Damn.
Like, don't put yourself in danger for me. But the sister is like, no, we're going to go. We're going to do this.
Hell yeah.
So it's definitely like not the most original story. I'm sure you can think of comparisons for everything that I said, but it's done well enough that I was mildly invested.
Cool.
I'd say, but yeah, it's a game with a lot of heart that I think. Yeah, I don't know how I would feel 30 hours into it versus 2, but yeah, it's pretty good.
That's cool. Kind of reminds me of Crosscode in a way, Ben, and what you were saying of like you wouldn't really recommend it, but this game is so freaking good.
Yeah.
It's like an excellent game, but it's just not mainstream, so it's not going to catch on the way like a lot of games do. But
right.
So it's like hard to kind of recommend, but you want to really bring attention to it.
Well, in a way, it almost reminds me of like an earlier time in a weird way where like, I don't know, there's just like so many weird little mechanics that this game has. And you could just tell that like, the people who made this game were probably just like sitting around a table and they were like, what if we did this?
Yeah.
And there was no one stopping them from doing that. Whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, they just like got excited and put it into the game. Awesome. And now I think things are just like, the budgets are so high and the risk is so high that it's like, not that people don't take risks or that they can't be ambitious. I think there's a great big example. Like we spent a lot of time talking about Returnal. I think that's a very brave game in a lot of ways. But, it doesn't happen very often. So it's kind of nice just like playing a game full of ideas that's just like figuring it out. Like these aren't like pro seasoned devs, It's just, I don't know, just like warms your heart. It's like one of those games. I'm sure everybody's got like those little games that kind of warm their heart.
Children of Morta.
Yeah. Brad.
Yeah.
Keeping the JRPG train rolling.
Keep it going.
I'm so jealous because I really, really, really want to play this, and I have not. I don't think it's out yet.
Nope.
Coming out this week, I think. Legend of Mana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the remaster of the PS1 title that I never played before. So this is my first time. I have played Mana games in the past, but I never played this one.
I think I've played every Mana game. No, that's not true. I've played.
There's like DS1, Dawn of Mana, I think.
No, what is it? Final Fantasy Legend?
Oh, yeah.
Is it Final Fantasy Adventure or Legend? I don't remember.
Legend.
Anyway, the one that was in the collection, I've played that one all the way through. Played Secret of Mana all the way through. We did Trials of Mana.
Yep.
All the way through.
Yeah, fill me in. Where are we on the timeline here?
I don't really know the timeline.
So wait, this is Legend of Mana?
Yes, this PS1.
And what was the one before this?
There's the Super Nintendo one,
Secret
Trials
of Mana?
There's Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
And then Legend of Mana.
I don't know if there's anything between it. I don't know.
But Secret and Trials were first? Or
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, there were Super Nintendo games.
Cool.
Sorry, Brad, getting you off track.
Yeah.
So this game kind of took me by surprise how different it is.
Mhm.
So, like, when I think of, from what I remember of the other two Mana games, super narrative focused. Well, at least Trials of Mana is much more narrative focused. Your character is very involved. This one, your character, like, so far the story of my character doesn't fucking matter at all. Like, I don't even got a story kind of thing. The story is about kind of the world and these characters in it.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting because in Trials of Mana, like, who
like,
you pick
is super important.
It shapes the entire thing.
Right now, I'm only like 2.5 hours into the game so far, so I'm still pretty early, but so far my story does not matter at all about my character. Right off the bat, you have this, it's kind of interesting. You pick where you start in the world. So you have a world map and you can pick certain sections you want to start in. I don't know if it really affects things too much or whatnot, but you can't pick where you start in. Then there's no like typical world map where you think of, especially like a mana game where you like, you know, you got that mode 7 world map or stuff like that. It's not like this. So the map works is you start at your house. This is kind of like your hub thing.
How cozy.
Pretty cozy, yeah.
Chrono Trigger vibes.
Yeah, you start your house kind of thing, but you unlock new places to visit throughout the game by getting like items, and you have your world map, your house, then you're like certain spaces you could put stuff in. Like, I'm going to put this piece I got here will make a town, and I'm going to put it right here.
Cloud over here.
Yeah,
dude.
you do pick that kind of. I don't think it matters really at all so far yet, though, but it's like, okay, the first thing is a village. I put it kind of like the square space next to my home. So it's just like right next to me. So you go there. I met this like weird fucking like rabbit guy. And he's like, I don't know what the hell I was supposed to do in this game because it doesn't, you know, you just kind of go out there. And he's like, hey, man, do you like traveling? Are you scared to go out and travel? I was like, no, I'm not scared of traveling like a bandit or anything like that. And he's like, oh, cool. Let's go out in the world together and beat up some bandits. So he joined my party. And he like gave me a new area to visit, so I placed it on the map and it opened up a new region. And you just kind of go through, and the combat's very mana. It's very mana. The combat, you know, the meter charging up. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter as much as this one, but no, it's not. It's action. Oh, okay. But it's more like a beat 'em up perspective, I would say. Like the plane of how you move up and down is like a beat 'em up.
Okay.
But you know, your attacks, so you can do a special attack, unleash it.
Dragon's Crown, or
kind
like,
of,
or like
kind
Tales
of. It, like that's how it looks. It doesn't play exactly like that, but that's how it looks when you're playing.
Cool.
So beat these bandits. This rabbit's like, thanks, man, and he just left. And it's like his story ended. I was like, oh,
what the hell?
So it's very much like you do little sections of stories relating to characters so far, and it just kind of ends like their part. I don't know.
That's so weird.
How deep it gets. Yeah, it's very weird. I did not expect this from this game. I thought, you know, it was going to be like Trials of Mana or Secret of Mana kind of thing like that. But he left. And I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. But so the whole game so far has been about like, you go to here, there's this small individual story, you'll do their little arc, then it'll end, then you go to the next kind of thing. But one thing that's kind of interesting about this game is it is co-op like a lot of the other Mana games, which is nice. You can recruit. I got these 2 like mages that joined my party. A lot of stuff, the story stuff has felt pretty fast. Some of it, where I was just like, "Oh, it's over."
Yeah.
Like there's these 2 like wizards you get early on. These 2 like kids, and I just went to a town and they attacked me essentially. And I was like, "Oh, let's fight!" And that was it. Now they're my friends, so they want to party up with me whenever I want them. You choose who you want to come out with you. But there's also like a monster thing where you collect monsters. And you can raise them, and they can come out in the battle with you. So I have, you know, like that rabbit-looking enemy that's in all the Mana games. I forgot what they're called, but I have that guy with me, and you can put him in your thing and raise him and give him some food. So I don't know how many more monsters there are. I only have 1 so far, but that's kind of interesting. I hope some of the monsters get really complex or just really cool monsters later on. Yeah. Some of the stories have been okay. They're getting better as I'm going along. The beginning of this game was real rough for me. I was like, man, I'm not feeling any of this. It's like not grabbing me, not invested in anything, but it's starting to pick up steam as I'm going along.
Yeah, I think like Trials of Mana was definitely narratively way more involved than Secret of Mana. But even then, it's funny because I don't think I necessarily play the Mana games for the story.
Right.
Like really thinking about Secret of Mana, like it's so bare bones. But what I think back of very fondly in Secret of Mana is just it's gorgeous. Like just going through those environments.
Yeah.
And the music is wonderful.
This game looks great and sounds great.
Okay, great.
I looked at some of the comparisons. I originally thought this was a DS game. I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, because the structure of, you know, you do a little mission, it kind of ends, or someone's story. I was like, oh, that seems like something that would work for a handheld or something, I guess. Nope, PS1 game.
Gotcha. There is a Mana game on DS, Children of Mana. But,
but the game looks great. the backgrounds look a lot like the backgrounds from the original ones, kind of like hand drawn. So like your character is like a sprite, but the backgrounds are hand drawn. So the backgrounds look really crisp and clean. Your character looks dramatically different than the backgrounds, or it like definitely stands out, but they still look pretty sharp, look pretty good. So
Nice.
very faithful to the original game, I guess, if you're excited for that.
The other thing that I think of when I think of Mana that I love is just some of the absolute best big boss sprites. How are the bosses looking?
The bosses I fought have been pretty small fries so far.
Okay.
And the game so far has been... I've quickly learned that I can stun lock like every enemy to death.
Yeah.
I just like... There's a rhythm to combat, and if you do like... Let's say you'd push circle 3 times, he'll do like a quick combo.
Yeah.
And there are different moves, and there's a little break in between it. But I quickly realized if you just push circle on like a very deliberate pattern, just like 1, 2, 3, he'll just do this the first attack of every combo. But it's so fast you can keep every enemy stunned in the loop.
That's so funny. It feels like such a quintessential Mana thing because in Secret of Mana, I would kill so many bosses just by stun locking them with magic.
Yeah.
It was great.
I haven't gotten any magic yet. There is magic, but I haven't gotten any of it yet.
Slow burn.
This one's Legend of Mana?
Yeah, Legend of Mana. It feels like this is going to be a pretty long game. Yeah.
Be a big deal when you get it. That's
Maybe,
pretty
yeah.
hype.
Do you think I would like this game, Brad?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think if you like Mana games, you'll like this game.
It's hard because there are, I feel like there have been a couple of Square re-releases that I've never played before that I'm really interested in, and I just haven't found the time for. This is definitely one of them.
I like Secret of Mana more, and I like Trials of Mana more so far.
Yeah.
But I'm still pretty early, so I will see.
I think what's intriguing me is just how different and weird.
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
weird. Yeah.
Speaking of different and weird, the other one that I really want to play is Saga Frontier as well. That just re-released.
Did they re-release / remake Secret and
They
Trials?
did like a remake of Secret of Mana.
Don't play
which
the Secret
I wasn't.
Mana remake.
I reviewed it, and I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Got it.
I would recommend the.
I would recommend the original. I have problems with the original as it is,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
And
the
did they do
remake didn't
Trials?
address a lot of things that I had
They
problems.
did remake Trials,
which is like way more dramatic of a remake.
Yeah,
it seems like.
The Trials remake is actually really cool.
Yeah, it
I want
looks
to go
cool.
back.
Yeah,
I wanna
Blood.
Go back and,
I think
and
Blood really
finish
liked
the
it.
remake.
He reviewed it.
It
Looks
is. It's
cool.
cool. It's definitely like
Eye-catching.
a remake on a budget, but with what they had, I think they did a really cool job. Yeah.
I've been really appreciating that Square is like, kind of getting back into the Mana series
Yes.
here. It seems like they're really putting in an effort. They're not like the most ambitious things by any means, but they are appreciated and good.
Yeah. Mana is just so, like, you can compare it to so many things, but nothing also quite feels like Mana. And you talked about, like, maybe not being the most ambitious. Like, I think, like, Trials of Mana with what it does, because the way Trials works is you pick a party of 3 at the beginning of Trials of Mana, and then, like, depending on who you pick, you get, like, an entirely different story. It's like, yeah. And so...
Well, I meant in their, like,
in the re-releases. Yeah, that's a fair point. But what I really hope, Brad, because I'm right there with you, I think games are better off with Mana in them, and I hope they could make a brand new one.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you like... It seems like if you like JRPGs in the Mana series, I think, like... You'll probably enjoy this game. I do think the beginning's kind of slow, but once you probably get over that, it'll get a lot better.
Sure.
And if you got a friend, it's co-op. So it's always nice to buddy up.
Huber.
Oh, wait. One thing I need to bring up about this game.
Yes.
So I've done a few, like, quote-unquote dungeons in this game. A lot of the environments are super beautiful and really cool to go through, but I definitely ran into an area where I was like, everything looks the same, and I'm lost right now. I'm like, I don't know.
Cave?
No, it was like a weird... field kind of thing. I just didn't know where the fuck I was going. Everything looked the same.
Funny. I definitely remember moments in both Secret and Trials where I was like,
there's some of that. So if you get stuck, look at a guy or something.
Yeah. That's my general rule of thumb when it comes. Well, actually, we have a little email about it. I'll get into it later.
But it is a PS1 game, so I guess essentially, it's just a better version of the PS1 game or a more modern version.
Huber, when I asked you what did you want to bring to frame chat, one name that I was not expecting was Shadow Warrior 2.
Shadow Warrior 2 has been on my back burner for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I dug into Shadow Warrior, not the original Shadow Warrior, but the new Shadow Warrior 1
I really liked
last
that one.
year. Yeah,
I like that one more.
I really liked it.
I loved one.
Okay, you like it more than 2?
Much more.
Okay, really?
2 is
'Cause I
dramatically
really like,
different.
I really like 1.
2 been gets bogged down trying to do too much. I enjoyed my time. It doesn't wear out its welcome. It's less than 10 hours.
That's so funny because that's exactly what I would say about Shadow Warrior 1 is there's this beautiful simplicity to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like they're doing with 3 again. They're back to the basics, focused. 2 is just trying to do too much. So Shadow Warrior, the original, one of my childhood games, going into E3, I was like thinking about it because 3 was going to be shown. And it was like, it's one of the earliest video games I ever played. It's right there with Doom and Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem. Like some of the earliest video games.
Ever played the original?
Wasn't the box art kind of similar to like Doom and Duke Nukem standing on something?
Standing on it. He's got the head and the sword.
Okay.
I'm
red
pretty sure
box.
it's a build engine game, the Duke Nukem 3D engine. Yeah.
Yep. So because I love Duke Nukem and I got into Shadow Warrior as a kid. So I really liked the reboot. And then 2, though. So Shadow Warrior 2, the reason it took me so long to get to is because it's 4-player co-op. So I never wanted to just dive into my own. I was like holding out hope that I would play through this co-op with someone. And now that 3 is getting so close, and
pushing him to the edge. When is 3 coming out?
Either this year or next.
I should try to get caught up before 3 comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but 2, 4-player co-op, loot, skills, abilities, leveling up, like your cards.
1 has abilities as well, but like it wasn't too crazy.
Yeah.
You saying like loot though, I'm like,
dude, and the loot, when you open a loot box, like the tiniest loot ever pops out. It's so small. And you have to like manually pick it up. So like all this tiny little shit pops out. And you're just like, oh my God, just pick it up. Like super annoying because everything is there for you to use. Like this game, I found like 30 different weapons. Samurai sword only for me. It's all I wanted to use. And it's all I did use. And the minute I stopped caring about like all this other bullshit, and I was like, yo, I'm just going to go through with my sword and have a good time, I started having a really good time.
Okay.
Because like movement is really cool. You can do a dash. Now, with 3 coming out, they said they've added a grappling hook and a double jump.
That's the big thing.
All this mobility. But yeah, 2, it just was really bogged down. It tried to do all this loot and experience and all this and co-op and like gems, combining gems. It's just like so convoluted and so unnecessary. I just wanted to chop people in half.
Yeah.
And the world building wasn't great. It's like demons and humans and some tie-ins to the original, but the story never really grabbed me. Said it 100 times, it just gets bogged down in all the details. So really excited about 3 though.
Something I really liked about Shadow Warrior 1 is I really loved the difficulty.
Yeah.
Where it was definitely like not as like easy as I think a lot of modern shooter campaigns are, but it wasn't quite like kick you in the balls like classic computer shooters could be.
Yeah.
It really felt like a nice balance. That felt like it was walking the line between those 2 extremes.
Totally.
How did 2 treat you in that sense?
2, there was only like 1 or 2 times when I did a bounty that I was like, this is way too hard, so I'm just gonna like bounce out.
Bounties, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty chill difficulty. Like you always had to focus. The game had its moments. Like
how was
the dash is so fun in this game, and just having your sword and like if it's like, yo, go to that place and kill someone, just like jump in and dash in and dash in and jump in and fall in. Like you can like hold circle to like land and do a roll. So you're just like zipping through these levels. And then obviously you have your sword so you can like cut people in half. They'll scream and just be like,
that's important.
Yeah.
That's
so cool,
important.
Cool enemies, and just cool mobility. And the sword was really cool. The humor.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Did not land for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Super childish, and I think, sure, you wanted to honor like the era, Lo Wang.
Yeah.
Lo Wang, a lot of dick jokes, a lot of jokes. Like
I love how you said it like we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
Lo Wang, like, because I always forget. And then I'm always like, oh, Lo Wang, I get it. They tried. I feel like 3 really is in a position now to mature this franchise.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, it's
Because I don't
weird because like I don't know if I really want it to be mature.
Not mature,
but I want it to be actually funny.
Yeah. Because like
That's fair.
because just like the first one, you have a demon person spirit inside of you, and she calls you out on your bullshit. She's like, dude, if you ever say one more dick joke again, like I'm done. Like shut up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice and refreshing because
sure.
So yeah, I don't want it to be all serious, but just modernize the humor,
Yeah.
So
I think that's fair.
yeah, I think he grew by the end of that game, which was unexpected. So I'm hoping in the next one, like we see a new side of Lo Wang, and I'm just really excited from what I've seen. The focus, looking at Doom 2016, looking at Doom Eternal.
As someone who hasn't played these games, it looked like Doom, kind of.
This one,
they were going for a Doom vibe with the combat. It seemed like
yes, dude. Shadow Warrior 3 100% is going on the Doom formula.
It's so funny that you talk about the dash and you're praising the dash because the dash is like quintessential in Doom Eternal, and I just want other shooters to just copy and paste that dash. It's so good. Yeah, man. You're talking about Shadow Warrior 3's on the horizon.
Yeah, cool franchise.
It's really awesome that because for the longest time you would always hear like, oh, single player shooters are dead.
Mm-hmm.
They all have to follow the same formula. They have to come from the Modern Warfare template, and I think there's definitely space for that. I enjoy those games too. But like Doom Eternal and hopefully Shadow Warrior 3, they're like and
Wolfenstein.
you're getting these independent classic style shooters as well. And it's like it's really coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And people are eating them up. And it's like, yes, like you stupid Suits. Like there was always a place for this.
Yeah. 2 felt like a victim of Suits. And I went back and I looked critically, it was well received. And to be fair, I only played single player. I didn't get 4 other people in there just going crazy, which I bet is pretty nuts because there's a lot of builds you can do, which I appreciate. You can really dig into it. That just wasn't for me. I wanted to just use the sword. So every other part of this game felt unnecessary to me. But at the same time, I can acknowledge that some people want to dig in and perfect their builds and use different guns and other like melee weapons. But that just, I didn't get that stuff. So.
I was talking about the sort of the throwback shooter renaissance, and one that happened recently that really disappointed me. Serious Sam 4.
Oh,
not great.
That came and went.
Yeah,
well, you guys love those games.
It came and went for a reason.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bummer.
I mean, it was like fine, but it was really just.
I always remember the trailers didn't show the level of enemies that was synonymous with that series.
Right.
The volume of
was
enemies.
it the appeal mostly?
Yeah.
Honestly, it almost felt like Serious Sam like 3.5. Like there just was really nothing that was. I don't know. It didn't feel special anymore.
Got it.
I saw they're bringing Painkiller back, so hopefully that
was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they announced it in such a weird way. They're like, we're making a new Painkiller.
It's like, oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
I kind of like that nonchalant or very casual announcement.
I wonder if they'll do. I wonder if like Machine Games will continue on with Wolfenstein. If they'll do.
I wonder if they'll.
There's got to be a finale, dude. There's got to be like.
I wonder if they'll take a break and do something in between though.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing a lot
Indiana
of.
Jones.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I really liked
only one
2
team?
quite a bit. New Colossus.
Good question.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just one team.
Yeah.
I feel like a break would be nice.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing Wolfenstein for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fortunate
come
enough
back.
to play Youngblood with one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Who just makes everything a 10.
Sure.
You play games with him, dude. You get him on board for a co-op game, you're gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So we played through that one together, and it was good. But
Has there ever been a co-op game where you like the power of friendship was not able to overcome the badness?
Yes.
Kane and Lynch.
There's been several I've played with him.
Yeah, Kane and Lynch.
Really? You guys didn't have a good time with I feel like
No!
We make fun of it at least. Like we can look back on it as a joke.
Yeah.
It's
But
funny because
man, it was bad.
I played through Kane and Lynch 2
Yeah.
on my own. On my own.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a good game,
No.
but it was so short that like I'm
Yeah.
not like mad at it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was
It
like
felt like a
4
waste of
hours?
time to me when I
Sure.
played it.
Yeah,
And I've played
That's accurate.
several
Yeah.
Army of 2 games with Huber where I'm just like, ah.
Co-op game that the power of friendship could not overcome. All for One.
All for One.
We did
Yeah.
beat that.
and Comrades. Our
Comrades.
friendship cannot save
It
comrades.
is so funny because you were so
Dude.
hyped on Comrades. I was like, "There's no way he's not gonna like it." Like you were just
Yeah.
so energized by it.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Never."
2
Well, it
hours.
was impossible to group up.
It was hard.
It's an online
It was
game
tough.
where it's impossible to like really play together. It was like
It was
we had
cumbersome.
to join. We had to like time our joins for the mission. So weird.
We got one more game to talk about. It's another one from me, and this is the kind of game that just feels good to bring to Frame Trap.
Ooh.
And that is Alex Kidd and the Miracle
So
World
curious about this.
DX.
Just
So
reading about this.
I am like not really familiar with Alex Kidd at all. I think I played
Dude.
the Master System version on like a collection or something for like a
Dude.
little bit.
Was there a Genesis game too?
Bang.
Yes, there
dude.
was a Genesis game.
The Wikipedia entry is intense for that game.
Alex Kidd
Uh,
lore.
Yeah, because it's like the popularity skyrocketed in the 80s or whatever, late 80s. Like this was an icon. And then it's like Sonic the Hedgehog came out and Alex
It got
faded
swept
into
away.
obscurity.
Yeah,
So, like, yeah.
but it's this game. There's no better word to describe it other than delightful. It feels like
Oh.
a little gem that just got forgotten
child.
about.
Dude, what a day and age
And
we live in.
If you have my words will not be able to do it justice, but if you have not seen what they've done with the visuals for this game,
Glorious.
it is incredible. And not only is it incredible, they do one of my favorite things when they do remakes like this. You hit the right trigger, you go back and forth instantaneously, like pretty
So
much
sick.
That's
pretty much
great.
instantaneously.
Love that.
And it is like this beautiful, like hand-drawn, like just big, expressive, cartoony characters. There's just so much love and passion here. But other than that, like, you know, it is the original game, and it's such an interesting kind of 2D platformer where obviously you can make comparisons to your Marios and your Sonics and other, you know, tent poles of the era, but it feels different than that. So you get touched, nice kid. You take any hit from anything, you're dead. That's
Don't
it.
touch me.
One touch, death. You get
Jeez.
3 lives. You run out of lives, you're doing that stage again.
Damn.
And the mechanics of it, like it's a very simple game, but the mechanics of it are really interesting because you can't jump on enemies to hurt them. You have this little punch, but it has a short range and your jump is a little bit awkward. And so a lot of the situations that they put you in, you have to like time it right. So it's like, oh, it's coming. I want to get up and hit him. And so there's a lot, like every enemy, just because like the threat of death is always there. Every jump and every enemy like has a little bit of terror to it.
That's good.
And it also comes from a time where I think developers were like more willing to deliberately troll players.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you hit a box, that there's some boxes where if you hit them, these little
Oh my God.
unkillable ghosts will come out.
What the
And
What
they'll
the hell?
just chase you around. And obviously, of course, if they touch you, you die. So you have to like just get off screen and try to get away
Yep.
from them. Because the way that this game works, and this also sort of plays into the gameplay, like let's say you're going down. Once you like drop, you can't go back up.
God.
And so if there's items or things you want, you kind of need to think about that, where it's like, oh, I can't like jump over here and then get the item on the left. I have to think. You have to commit a bit. You have to sort of
Cool.
like chart your way forward. But it's great, and
I
the
really
levels.
like that, Ben.
Yeah, the levels are really short. I mean, it depends on how many times you die, but they're just like really bite-sized, and they're changing all the time. So you'll do like one level that's like in a volcanic region, and then you'll be swimming. And as you're going through, one of the biggest things that you collect is money. And
Excellent.
in some
Tell me more.
in some levels, the level will open and you can go into a shop.
Oh.
And it's funny because they'll always have 3 items that you can buy, but you don't know if you're brand new to the game, you don't know what they are. And so I was just like, this is a little motorcycle. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it. And then I was just like, he immediately gets on it and you just like zip through the level. But it only lasts a limited amount of time. And sometimes it can really be beneficial. Like you can buy this little helicopter and it's like, oh, like they made it so if I got the helicopter, it'd be way easy. They designed this level in such a way where it'd be way easier for me to get this like money that's up top and all that stuff. But then so I mentioned that you have this kind of punch and it's not that useful. You can get this ring where you pick up the ring, and then if you hit a button, you activate it. And it'll give you like a little fireball that comes out when you punch. So you give yourself more range. Obviously, very useful. And you're destroying blocks all the time, and so it will destroy like a whole row of blocks. The tricky thing is, you die, that ring is gone.
Ooh.
However, if you don't use the ring and you die, you can then use it later.
Oh.
Okay.
And so you kind of have to strategize, like, when do I want to pop this thing? Do I want to save it for a boss fight? Yada, 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 yada. And the other thing that's great about the money, I think, as somebody who appreciates economy, you would love this. So if you lose all your lives, your money's gone.
All of it.
All of it. You go back down to 0.
Very nice.
So
that's a fair penalty.
You might
very fair.
get to the end of the stage, get your game over, start the next level, and you have nothing.
High
that
stakes.
you can buy.
I love that high stakes.
Yeah.
This game feels like super high stakes, but also like chill.
There
Because you
is-
said the levels are bite-sized. If you
Right.
die, you can just start over the level.
Yeah, and I was on I got to the 9th level, and it was definitely like really ramping
Ninth
up.
level of hell.
And I was dying quite a bit, and it was like, hey, if you want, like, in the options, you can turn on infinite lives if you want. So if you reach that point, you can do that. I'm not going to do that, but it's nice that the option is there.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely hard. Make no mistake, it's hard, but it's not like, oh,
It's
I
not
could
like
never beat this.
blood-stained. No.
Curse of the Moon?
What was the second one?
Curse of the Moon 2?
It's not like Curse of the Moon 2 style.
No, it's
That one was tough
it's
for me.
definitely doable. There
Cool.
is one thing that I do think is just straight up bad that I don't like, and I don't understand why they did it. So when you switch back to the old graphics, like everything is kind of the same in the sense that, like, oh, if a block is placed here in the remake, it's placed here in the original version. They've changed the jump, so the jump feels different.
Even if you use retro graphics?
No. So this is the point that I want to get to.
Okay.
So the jump in the remake, it feels like it's easier to go horizontal, but as a consequence, it's like a little bit slippier.
Okay.
And so there are so many times where it's like, he went farther than I intended to, and he's just a little slippy. And so when you get to like level 9 again, it's this jungle level, and you have to make like really tight jumps. But you go back to the original version, and he doesn't have that like horizontal slippiness anymore. It's very rigid. It's way more vertical than it is horizontal. And so for me, it was a lot easier to just do this stage. It was like twice as easy doing it in the old style than it was in the new style. And there are other things that I think the remake sometimes it helps, because going back to that jungle level, in the original version, there's like really pixelated 8-bit grass, and there's scorpions walking through the grass, and it's like, oh, they're kind of hard to see. You switch to the remake, and it's like they're clear as day. But then the opposite can happen. Like, you're in this cave level, and there are these dark, like, kind of rock formations where it's like, oh, like, I'm not supposed to touch that. Like, if I hit that, I'll hit my head.
Yeah.
But they kind of blend into everything else. But you switch back to the original version, and it's just like, oh, it's way clearer. And so while I do think the art is gorgeous, I wish the jump felt a little more like the original jump. I watched somebody correct me, and they're like, no, it's 1-to-1, but it definitely feels different to me. And I do think, again, like background stuff and visibility can change between the two. But, it's not that big of a deal, because like I did the whole level in the 8-bit style, and then I got to the boss and I switched it back to the remake. It was fine. So,
Awesome.
Not punishing you for switching back and forth. But
I love that that's there. Just being able
Yeah.
to see history.
yeah, I think it's been a really busy June. And I think this game is going to be immediately forgotten, but I hope it doesn't. And I hope talking about it on this podcast shines some light, because it is just super jolly. Like, if you have any love in your heart for 2D platformers, I really encourage you to check this out. Yeah.
Dotemu was published
No,
it?
I thought Dotemu was involved, but they're
Developed?
not. No.
Okay.
No, I looked it up and I did not see
Maybe
Dotemu.
Wonder Boy?
Yes, they did Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy. And this is like affiliated with Wonder Boy at all? Or
No.
it gets
Nope.
so confusing?
Nope.
Separate.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
yeah, Alex Kidd in the Miracle World. Check it out.
It's just wild, Ben, that you and I grew up with Sega Genesis and like no familiarity.
Alex Kidd was definitely more of a Master System
Master
thing,
System,
which
yeah.
I did not have.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, when Sonic came out,
Right.
Yep, that was it.
No one
That was
cared.
it. Yep.
Faded into obscurity.
I was definitely
A Sonic kid.
I was obsessed.
everyone who
with
had a Sega was a Sonic kid.
Doubt.
Yeah. I'm still.
Hell,
a
even
Sonic
I
fan.
was.
Spin dash, baby.
We're gonna spin dash right into this HOTTAKE.
Oh shit!
It was good doing it in the studio again.
Do you remember when Sonic Unleashed was at E3 2021?
No. Do you remember when the Sonic Unleashed Orchestra was
Yeah.
playing?
That was
Just
wild.
randomly
That was
during
wild.
He's like, yeah, we're gonna go play some Sonic Unleashed
It
music.
was so bizarre.
Out of all the Sonic
It
games.
was so bizarre.
We were talking about Alex Kidd and things being forgotten, and we're gonna kind of expand that to the HOTTAKE today. We mentioned it during E3. It was kind of the E3 of indies. There were so many great indies that were there. But I mentioned this on the podcast, and I kind of wanted to extend to the panel. It is hard. There were so many indies that were shown that it was hard remembering all of them, and it just felt like between all of the indies that were it felt like they were kind of suffocating each other. And then, you have your big games as well that felt like they were kind of eating their lunch, as is always the case in terms of attention. People always going to get more excited about a sequel or whatever, generally. And so I was wondering about it, and I was like, how do we fix this? Like, how do we give these games that deserve recognition, more room to breathe, more of a chance to really blow up and become the next sensation, like a Hollow Knight or like a Stardew Valley, and do we need to change how we're presenting them at these shows? Like, what ideas do you have?
I would say maybe a lot of the reason why a lot of games get overlooked, especially E3, because there are so many games,
So
Yeah.
many.
and it's hard to keep track of how many there were. Like, you could have seen a game and thought it was really cool,
Yeah.
but then you just got washed over by 40 more games. You're like, oh my god.
Yes.
But in terms of games like getting big, like Hollow Knight, I think a lot of it has to do with player reception
Yeah.
and word of mouth.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like, I heard about, like, Hollow Knight looked cool to me, but once you told me it was, like, really good, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, shit. And I think once people started playing, it started to spread. So with indie games, I think it definitely is a time and a place and just word of mouth.
It's funny because what initially piqued my interest in Hollow Knight is it's like, oh, it's this, fusion of Souls and Castlevania, and so it was building on something that I already loved.
Right.
And something that I think is so great about indie games is sometimes it's like, I've never seen anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it'd be a little harder to create space for those things. And so, like Nintendo, for instance, and other companies do this as well. You have ID at Xbox. You've got Sony during State of Play, sometimes prominently featuring indies as well. Do you think that is a good call to when Nintendo, for instance, is like, hey, we're going to have a direct, but it's just going to be indies? Do you think it's good to separate them? Or does that run into the problem of people being like, oh, it's just an indie show, I can ignore it?
I think it's the problem of both. So
Yeah,
I think it can get over.
do.
Yeah. So people, you do a Nintendo indies thing, and people are like, whatever, it's indies, I don't care.
Yeah.
But if you put maybe some indies in with bigger games, then people will forget all about the smaller games and just focus on the big games.
Yeah, it's tough.
And it depends how many are shown
Yeah.
for people to remember.
I don't know if this is true or not. This is just speaking for me, but I feel like you gotta shadow drop your indie game, dude. Shadow drop. Like E3, the hunger.
Yeah.
The absolute hunger from everyone to just play something new, play new games. I want to play something. Like, give me a game to play. It's E3, onslaught of games. Some of those indie games really could have used a shadow drop, like available right now. So many games that were shown, I would have been like, dude, I'll play this right now. You release this right now, I'm going to play this thing immediately. And it'll be like 2022. It's like, dude, why are you showing your indie game right now? It's come 2022.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's something there. I think that's a serious weapon, I feel like, for an indie game that is not used
I like
enough.
that phrase. I don't think you're wrong, and I think there is something to what you're saying, because unlike, the budgets and the sheer marketing force of your biggest AAA games,
Yep.
like those
Juggernauts.
they can afford to constantly remind you that they're on the way.
The constant reminders.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do a stream every month.
interviews,
Yep.
all this.
We got an exclusive on Game Informer. We got the cover next month. Yeah. It's like, they have the power to force themselves into your brain. And indies, sometimes it feels like, all right, we spent
One
all of our
shot.
budget like getting into this show. I hope people wishlist us on Steam.
Yeah.
And I totally sympathize with that. It's not their fault, of course. I think part of the reason they are so appealing is because they're smaller. And I do think you're right that if you have that shot, the impact of, hey, we're at right now is really cool.
Come
but
play.
at the same time, kind of going against that, I think, development is always way harder than anybody expects,
Of
and it's like
course.
things take twists and turns. And I think sometimes for smaller projects, especially, like we saw projects where it's like, we're on Kickstarter now, and it's
True.
like they need to,
Get
before they
players.
can get it in their hands, they need
Exposure.
the interest, they need that
Absolutely.
boost of exposure.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
like Rogue Legacy 2 right now is early access,
Yeah.
and that has grown and
Mhm.
adapted because of player feedback.
Yeah.
So like
Well, Rogue Legacy 2, people know what Rogue Legacy
course, of
is, so
course.
they have fans
weird
already.
example, bigger game,
But it's like, if you're an indie dev, you want to do a shadow drop maybe at a big event, but you necessarily, like, let's say your game's done, you necessarily can't hold off on the game for like 4 months
yeah,
and just not release it. Sometimes you just got to get it out there. You got to make some money.
Kind of to your point, Huber, about shadow dropping, I feel like early access can be such a powerful tool.
Yep.
And two examples that I want to use there, which, again, there are things that make these unique as well. So it's not a totally fair comparison. But Hades and Darkest Dungeon. So Hades, obviously coming from a beloved studio, right? So people know what Bastion is. So I think there's already inherent interest there. But the way that they handled the early access was great because I think when they were in early access, people could immediately see like, oh, like there's something here, right?
Yeah.
Like this is going to be dope. And then seeing it evolve,
yeah.
it kind of like built a community. So by the time that thing came out, you already had people out
Excitement.
there that could really
Totally.
speak super intelligently about the game. Where they're like, oh, I've already done all these runs and here's what's going on. And so I think that can really boost you. And the same
Totally.
thing with Darkest Dungeon, right? Now, again, I think with Darkest Dungeon, like the art was just so good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the presentation was
yeah.
just so good that
That's
Yeah.
another thing I was going to bring up is art.
Mhm.
Just that's all you can do as a new IP is
Yeah.
like looks matter. Looks can kill,
Yeah.
That's all we can go off. We don't know what your game is. We have
Yeah.
no attachment. We have no knowledge. We're seeing it. Does it look cool? Yes or no? So I think that's why Replaced
Mhm.
was one name that keeps getting brought up. Everyone remembers that one. That was such a big one that like stood out because
Yeah.
I think the visuals just got everyone.
I don't
got us
disagree with
all.
you. And aesthetics matter in so many ways. But kind of the takeaway that I had from E3 is we saw countless indie games, and I was like, these are all gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like these
They
are all like,
look good, honestly.
Yeah. And so like that was
Yeah.
kind of the problem is I was seeing indie game after indie game, where I'm like, this looks phenomenal. Like
Mhm.
this is rivaling anything else out there. And so it's like it almost became a detriment because I'm like, okay, which gorgeous indie game am I thinking about now?
Yeah.
And so that can put it in a tough position. And I think even it's more difficult now than even it was at the time Darkest Dungeon was in early access. Right?
Mhm.
The field is even more competitive than it
Mhm.
used to be.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean,
Yeah.
part of me wants them to maybe let these announcements breathe during an E3 showcase. Maybe
Yeah.
have the developers speak about it at the same time,
Yeah.
rattling off 5 or 6 indie games in a row just for a press conference is a
Yeah.
nice pace. It's fun to watch,
Yeah.
but it definitely kind of muddles. They all muddle together.
They definitely did do that during E3 where they would have creators talk about their game. And
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like
God,
there's
but then
the
chat like gets so bored, you know.
well, chat is a bunch of monsters.
It's
It's
like, move on to the next game.
Twitch
Not
chat
our
in
chat,
general.
but like,
yeah. No, I'm
Xbox
not making fun of
yeah.
Easy Alice chat. I'm saying
Yeah.
Twitch chat in general.
yes.
Not the best place.
Yeah.
Not the best place in the world. But like the first thing I think of is that grandmother walking game, and I think it had an even bigger impact because you saw the creator with his grandmother. It really
Mhm.
just made
Oh,
it
yeah, I
even
remember
more
that.
touching. Yeah. Talking about presentation though, because Sony skipped the C3.
Mhm.
And they've clearly got stuff in the wings. We've got Horizon to look forward to. We've got God of War to look forward to. Ghostwire Tokyo, which you've been talking about. So, like, there's clearly big games that will draw a lot of attention. I wonder if the answer is to throw in a brand new crazy indie game that you have a lot of faith in as Sony, like right after the God of War Ragnarok trailer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we know we're going to get people in because we have this massive IP. So we're going to throw people things in because we're going to have more eyeballs than ever.
Mhm.
And then, we'll get that conversation going where it's like, yeah, God of War looks great, but did you see Flim Flam Floozle made
Yeah.
by this one guy?
Flim Flam Floozle,
Yeah.
dude.
Right.
The sequel to Flim Flam Floozle 0.
Yeah. It's also hard because indies are sort of developing kind of the same problem that already exists in the AAA space, where like some of them have kind of already proven themselves, and so they have team recognition. Where it's like, okay, if Jonathan Blow does something, that's going to get way more attention than your average indie game. You know, Team Neat
Giga
does something, yeah, exactly. So that is hard too, and I feel really bad. That very talented people that just haven't had a chance to establish their reputation.
The only thing you can say is, I guess, or look forward to, is some of those smaller games will become big beloved things.
Yeah,
like Hollow
definitely.
Knight. Just like, everyone is like, "Where is Silksong?"
Where
Like
is
freaking out
Silksong?
about it.
Where is Silksong?
And it's just
Where is
like,
it?
there's new studios will become that.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't expect to bring this HOTTAKE here and have us solve it, but
Yeah, it seems unsolvable,
Yeah.
truly,
Yeah.
because there's just so many. I mean,
yeah,
it seems truly unsolvable, because it's like, not all indie games are created equal. Hollow
yeah.
Knight and
I mean,
Hades are such 10 out of 10s, and there's a lot of bad indie games. There's a lot of
Yeah.
good indie games, but like, there's only so much space in some of these press conferences. Maybe we need to have a champion like like Day of the Devs was so well received. It was so awesome. What if we had a monthly Day of the Devs that just like highlighted indie games? That'd be
Yeah.
something, like an actual space consistently, where it's not just at E3 we cram them all into one.
Yeah.
It's like having every couple months or every month or so we check in on the indie scene.
I'm so with you, and on like one hand, I'm like, yes, that's awesome. I would be super excited about that. But on the other, I think part of the problem is that we're just shown too much.
Yeah, that's too
But
much.
we're shown too much because there's so much we're showing off.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't say that like, oh, like you don't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
I think so many of the indie games that we saw, were at an
Like-
equal place of impressiveness. But I do think like spacing them out when you do maybe show a smaller handful, it'll just help audience retention.
Like all those hitchhiking games looked sick.
Yes,
They looked so cool.
Yes, they did. But
They're
you-
all blending in my brain.
Yes,
I don't remember
exactly,
the names.
Exactly. Like you get these creators that
Yeah.
like have a twist on a similar idea, and you
Yeah.
start to get confused about it.
I mean, even a recent one from a pretty big studio, dude, Clay, however you say it.
Yeah.
Grifflands.
Right.
This game came out a few weeks ago. It was on my radar since they showed
I've
it.
been getting some glowing reviews. Yeah.
Yes, it has been on my radar forever. Came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, that's out? It's like, oh shit, I gotta make time for that. Like, here's an indie game that I know the studio, the buzz is good. It's just I gotta find time to play it.
Totally.
It's like so many.
It does make me so happy though that like some of these games can bubble up in the surface and not just be, great for an indie game. It's just
No.
like I think Hollow Knight is just straight up one of the best games of the last
Ever
10
made.
years.
Yeah, easily.
Like
easily.
It's phenomenal.
Should
but
be talked about with Souls.
yeah,
Hands down.
yeah.
As influential, I feel like, as good.
I think an important thing to remember, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Because there are so many games and so many series and things that I'm attached to that I give so much attention to. It's like always keep an open mind. You never know when you're going to find something, and I think that applies to the audience as well. Because I was talking about Edge of Eternity earlier, and it's like, if I did a review for this game, like it just wouldn't do very well. Like I know I've done this long enough that I know when we do certain games, they won't view very well, and that's no one's fault, right? Like smaller games are going to get less attention. That's not me blaming the audience, but I just think for all of us, it's good once in a while to have that mental check of like keep an open mind or try something new. I think that's always good.
Yeah. I think it's indie games and casual gamers. Like the gamers that don't follow news outlets.
Yeah.
They play their couple games a year,
Yeah,
like the normal casual gamers.
yeah, the normies.
Do they play indie games? I feel like there's only a handful of games that broke through that barrier.
Yeah, it does happen, but it is extremely rare.
Yeah. So it's like somehow marketing to them, Because like
It's hard because
will follow the indie games we want. We
Yeah.
will praise them. We will play them. We will score them well, and that is it. We will move on. But like, how do we let those people know
It's
that
hard
the
because
indie games are worth their time, like Madden and like Call of Duty. Like, yo, you should play this indie game.
But think about the two things that you just mentioned there. I think the problem is that audience is the most susceptible to like visual prowess.
Yeah.
You know, like when they sit down to play a game, which they probably don't do very often, which of course that's totally fine. But it's like, I want to play the biggest, best, you know,
Like,
I want
like my
see,
co-op friend. My co-op friend falls into this category. Grumbomb. It's funny we mentioned Clay. The last indie game he played was Shank 1 and 2. That was the last.
It's like what, 10 years ago?
Yeah. So he only plays, you know, your Red Deads and your Assassin's Creeds and your Call of Duties.
It's a lot of people.
The big marquee franchises. There's no room for those indies. So if we can just somehow, that I think is the answer.
Well,
Getting through to people who don't follow the industry and just don't know about something like Hades.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's almost impossible. Like, they just don't care.
Yeah.
But that goes back to me saying, like, you bundle it, you know, with your big games that you know everybody's going to play. And so, like, you know,
Castle Crashers.
when you inevitably announce, somebody spends time talking about Call of Duty and State of Play, sandwich that between some sweet indie games. I don't know.
Maybe promoting them more on like their stores, like when you boot up
I think
your
they've been
system.
pretty good at that.
But I'm just saying, like maybe even more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe Game Pass.
Game Pass,
shout out to Game Pass for maybe,
Yeah.
I'd love to see those numbers of players who would never even think about playing some
game.
indies or just like diving in.
You know what would also help? Shout out to Cadence of Hyrule. Fantastic game, you know, but it was a great indie game, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and Nintendo was like, yeah, you can use our IP to make this thing. I do think that there's a lot of power there.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Let these extremely talented developers that are gonna knock it out of the park, let them use your beloved IP that's going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, wasn't like Sonic Mania like that?
Sort of. Sonic Mania was them taking fans that were very dedicated and put a lot of work into the Sonic community and allowing them to make a brand new Sonic game that felt like classic Sonic games. That's great too.
Yeah.
You want to do that? I'm totally fine with
Hell
that. Sonic
yeah.
Mania is wonderful.
10 out of 10.
But with Crypt of the Necrodancer, I mean, like, okay, you have this great idea mechanically.
Oh,
Let it get more eyeballs by letting them use an IP. You know, even some like I think they could totally do that with like a Crash Bandicoot, for instance, or a Spyro, or these things that people want that are just otherwise dormant. Like, do you know how many developers are out there that would literally chop off their left arm to work on a Banjo-Kazooie game? And do you know how much they would crush it?
Or Splinter Cell.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let them do that. They can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you think if we can't get through to the Grumbombs of the world, do you think indie games will always be niche? Or until we can do that, they're just always going to be niche and we have to accept it?
I think indie games are bigger than ever.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely.
To your point,
Yeah.
it's the thing that's nice about it now.
The lines are blurring.
Is it's not a monolith, and it's less a monolith than it's ever been, where you will see, you know, an indie game come out of nowhere and sell millions of units, and then you will see a dozen indie games that deserve way more attention get silently forgotten. Like, it's just, you know, it's all over the place.
It is all over the place. Kind of like YouTube. Just
Kind of like
videos,
anything, I
you
feel
know?
like.
Yeah.
Why did this video get 20 million views? But this one is like the same thing. It only got like
YouTube
1,000.
is mostly trash, though. I don't have great things to say about YouTube. Even though I watch it all the time. I watch it every day. I think it's because I watch it all the time that I don't have a ton of faith in it. Okay, we ready for some emails?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Rogue Legacy 2 almost fully
Did
released.
you checked in?
I did one other check-in.
Okay, I need to check back into it because I really, you know, we had that chat about it.
A
Yeah.
lot bigger now, Ben. Way bigger. A lot more stuff.
All I do is play video games, and I feel like I never have time for video games.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
now I want to play because I'm so excited about Stalker 2. I want to play Stalker 1. That's gonna be an undertaking.
Stalker, dude.
You know, that's gonna take a lot.
Stalker 2 looks so hype.
I know.
Yo, instead though, you know what you should really do for real?
What should I
watch Chernobyl on HBO? Is the best way to get in the mood.
I
for Stalker.
told you what happened with me in Chernobyl, right?
I think you started it and you were we're done after the
No.
first one. Or...
Because everybody was talking about Chernobyl and it's like amazing.
Yeah.
And I started it and I was like, this is amazing, but I just can't handle it right now. Nothing to do with its quality.
No, for real, it's a lot. Like it is. I don't give out warnings often. Yeah. The most I could warn you.
At the time
I
was
watching
watching
you can
it,
be warned.
I just did not have the energy for that level of sadness.
Yes.
Not an indictment on its quality.
Sadness in the most brutal, bleakest, real way possible. Okay.
No, I do want to watch it though. It's been on my list for a very long time.
It before Stalker comes out.
Well, hey, that would be a good call.
I love that, dude. Just like, this is too intense.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Because I watched the first season of Handmaid's Tale. Really liked it.
My wife and I, we got to season 2. We were like, no.
Yeah. No, my wife and I have had that conversation. We were like, wow, it was a great show. Let's take a break.
Yeah. Same thing, dude.
Let's take a break.
Totally. Too much.
Our first email comes in from Martian. Hi, Ben and Allies. Almost exactly a year ago, I asked you about a post-Anthem battered EA, which cut jobs and was at a low point in public perception, even by their standards. Back then, I noticed EA doing some not as gritty moves I would have never expected before, like no microtransactions in Squadrons, their games on Steam again, and mod support for Command & Conquer Remastered. This year, besides the FIFA leak, which is probably not their fault, I can't really think of any major bad publicity. It Takes Two is a go-to contender. So much could have gone wrong with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but didn't. Knockout City surprised all of us, and even customer-friendly, unprecedented moves by other publishers, like a next-gen patch for Fallen Order, which lets you go from disc to the digital version. The last one would have been an unthinkable move for EA just a short time ago.
Straight up.
With the great momentum of Battlefield 2042 and so many EA games being in Game Pass also helps the public perception. So I thought I'd ask again, after 1 year, how are we feeling about EA today? Is redemption possible? Do we have to rewire our brains and find a new publisher to be angry at all the time?
Blizzard. Screw them.
EA, yeah, so I don't know. Like EA, I feel like a lot of their shady practices that I'm used to are a lot on the FIFA front, and I do not pay attention to FIFA at all, but I just hear about their loot box bullshit and all that stuff.
Their cards.
Battlefield 2, Battlefront 2 was a mess.
2,
Now it's completely transformed.
Yep.
Like, so far they're looking pretty good. Like,
they're on the mend.
They're on the mend for now, but they could easily fuck something up in a second.
Here's how they go from the mend to redemption. Dead Space.
That's not what I was going to say. I mean, I would love it, of course.
Dead Space. You give the people what they want, what we've been asking for forever. It shows that you're listening. It shows that you are honoring your legacy. Like, it is so time. It is beyond time.
I'm
Fallen
with you.
Order, obviously, I don't think that was, or the patch was mentioned, but Fallen Order, obviously, a big part of that as well.
Like, new Dead Space would be great. And I love this email because I think it does a really good job of pointing out, like, you know, maybe small in isolation decisions that EA have done, but kind of add up together to be something meaningful. But I think for most people, the problem that EA has is not that they aren't doing good things or releasing good games, is that there's still a bitterness there for past mistakes.
Definitely.
So I think there are precisely 2 games that will really turn the ship around and let people let go of some of that bitterness, because a lot of the bitterness comes from BioWare's direction.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
If the new Dragon Age and the new Mass Effect knock it out of the park and really revive those series.
And Battlefield's got to be great too.
Yeah, Battlefield definitely. But I think even more so than Battlefield, I think the new Mass Effect and the new Dragon Age have a lot right.
Yes, they do.
In terms of public perception.
Make or break, honestly, Ben. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Honestly, make or break.
Yeah.
But even hearing about Battlefield, like, no... This is actually something I want to talk about. This is actually interesting. We've been talking about the price of Battlefield. No campaign.
Yeah.
60 and 70 some places dollars for this game in era of free to play and Game Pass and all these other ways to get games on the cheap. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I mean, here EA is in trouble again with pricing. You know, on the flip side, there's going to be all the maps are free for players.
Right.
They don't want to like split their player base. But here we are again with another EA pricing debacle. I'm kind of on both sides of this.
To me,
I don't really know where I fall.
I feel like EA and Activision, those Call of Duty games will be expensive no matter what, and they'll always be that way until they get desperate.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to kind of put this into the show, so I'm really glad you brought this up because I was complaining a lot about the price of Advance Wars, and I think it's too high for a number of reasons. And then somebody was like, well, what do you think about Sony games being $70? And I was like, that is a really interesting question to think about because, like, I'm not into games costing more, Like, I don't think anybody in their right mind is like, charge me $10 more. Yeah. No one wants that.
No.
But the thing I will say in Sony's defense, and this, I really don't think this has anything to do with being a fanboy. I would absolutely feel this way about Microsoft and Nintendo is when I think about a lot of the first-party output so far, what immediately comes to mind is things like the Demon's Souls remake, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank. A lot of these games that I'm playing, these are some of the best games that I've played of this new generation so far. So the quality has been there consistently.
Yeah. Quality and production budget. I mean, you look at it, you know what you're paying for.
Yeah,
Battlefield 2042, they're flexing.
I cannot speak for everyone, but I am getting value out of these games, and I'm not regretting playing them because in a lot of ways, if it's like I feel like these are some of the best games that you could be playing right now, and I play a lot of games.
Maybe with Nintendo it's harder because visually
People
the
see
Switch, the production values kind of hold it back a little. Maybe
totally. Yeah,
like, this looks like an indie game.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
But I do think there's an interesting argument there, and I think there are even counterpoints to things that I said that you could bring up. But the general point that I'm trying to make is it's all about quality. Like back in the day, I don't remember how much I paid for Battlefield 1942. It was probably $50.
Yeah, definitely.
I would have paid $100 for Battlefield 1942.
Played it forever.
I was so
Forever.
totally in love with Battlefield 1942, and I played so much of it that I could have spent $100 on that game. I would have been happy as a clam. Okay, and I had a lot less purchasing power back in the days of Battlefield 1942, and I mean that statement completely. Right? It felt like a revolution of multiplayer. It was amazing. So when you ask this question of what do you think about the price, and it's like, well, how good is the game? If it's just another lukewarm kind of whatever Battlefield that everybody's over after a month, that sucks that they're charging more. If you're not getting more value out of it.
Totally.
You charge more, you better step up your game.
Expect more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Especially if you're taking things out.
Yeah,
which I think the
Battlefield
campaigns
multiplayer
were
now is
bad anyway, but
Yeah, I didn't really care about them taking that out.
No,
I was like,
happy
whatever.
about it. Focus.
I'll never play it anyways.
Yeah, it's always hard to say that though, because I don't care about the Battlefield campaigns.
I'm sure people
either.
do, but we can only speak for our personal preference.
Exactly.
I like
exactly.
Bad Company's campaign.
Yeah, but that was so long ago.
And you remember just how fucking fun Bad Company was?
Yeah.
It was just a blast.
Shooting
just had the best vibe.
Holes in walls, man.
Yeah.
Just shooting holes in walls.
Next email comes in from Alexander Zirnov, who says, "Hello, Ben and panel. I've read and watched numerous game reviews over the years. I've noticed that almost every professional reviewer tends to prefer games that have some unique aspects, even if this uniqueness doesn't make the game better. This is completely understandable. When playing games is your job, you play a lot of similar games, so every breath of fresh air feels genuinely exciting. But the main purpose of a review is to inform audiences on which games they should play, and many of us only have so much time for gaming. When your time allows you to play, for example, just one RPG, it doesn't matter how similar or different it is to the rest of the market. You just want it to be good. I'm not trying to say that certain way of scoring games is right, but the difference of perspectives certainly impacts the usefulness of reviews for consumers, and less useful reviews likely get less views, so this discrepancy impacts critics as well. Do you think that something can be done to close the gaps between critics and the audience, perhaps on the editorial level?"
No, it's up to the buyer to seek out people they trust. It truly is. You got to find people you trust. There's 45 million reviews, I'm sure of.
Yeah.
Something, let's say Ratchet and Clank, newest game. So many opinions you can find. You can find streamers, reviewers. So I think some of the responsibility definitely is on the consumer.
Yeah. I love talking about this,
Mhm.
but I do take issue. I think this is an oversimplification of the idea. No reviewer is like, oh, I've seen this idea, I'm going to knock it down. It's never that simple.
No.
But
Like Ratchet kind of has, like, maybe I marked it down a little bit because it was so familiar.
But you still gave it an 8.5.
Yeah,
It's not like you're like,
exactly.
oh, 4 to 10
Yeah.
play before. You're not
Yeah.
dismissive in that way.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think as long as people can get from your review, like, this is extremely well executed game, point is made. But what he's saying about uniqueness, that is just human nature.
Mhm.
And it does not just apply to video games.
Yeah.
You know, even if you like just flip on the TV and turn it to a random channel and you're just trying to kill time, you're way more likely to watch something where you're like, whoa, what's going on? I've
what
never
is
seen anything
this?
like this before, than to just watch like a shitty sitcom that feels like it's stealing every joke.
Mhm.
Like, humans crave new experiences.
Mhm.
That is not a bad thing, but newness can come from refinement as well. You can like have an idea and you're like, oh, I've seen it before, but I've never seen it done this way, or I've never seen it done this good.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think even the most casual gamer, even the gamer that like has almost no time to play games, they want new experiences that are
Yeah.
going to take them to new places.
Absolutely.
And of course, they, you know, it's not just about that. They want it to be executed well, but like, I think that is like a universal human trait.
Totally.
Yeah.
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 I always try to review my games as a buyer's guide. Buyer's guide. That's always the
totally.
stance I take.
Yeah.
Is like, here's how it is. I feel like.
Yeah. I don't love the idea. I think people oversimplify it when they're like, oh, well, you're a reviewer, you know, like I only get to play 2 games a year, so you're just in such a different situation than I am. And it's like, yes, that's true, but like, we both love great games, and I bet, you know, 9 times out of 10, we could come to an understanding of like what makes a great game.
Totally.
We're on your side, or at least I'm on your side.
Yes.
Like I
Yes.
want nothing more than the world to play good games.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's up to you to figure out what you want to spend your money on.
Totally. There's so many avenues.
You can
to
look
find
for
out about a game.
opinions and all that stuff.
Even
and,
like
but it's up to you.
like what I used to do before I was in the industry was just watch some gameplay
Yeah.
or just look at some screenshots.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Mhm.
Yeah, I
like,
mean, like,
that's how I make up my mind. Like, oh, this looks cool. Sure, I'll try it.
I understand why people do it, but a small pet peeve of mine, if there is somebody's like, I'm deciding between these 2 games, which one should I play? And it's like, I understand why you're asking, and it's, you know, honestly, it's like a little bit flattering that, you know, you're seeking my advice here, but it's like, I don't know you, I don't know what games you like and don't like, and it's like, you can go to YouTube, any game you want, the
see.
entire game is on
Yeah,
there.
you can find.
If you want to see every second of a game, you
Yeah.
can. And so, and yeah, you're right. There's so many perspectives.
Metacritic is just so easy to even see. Like for
Right.
every game,
Right. Every
the
game
gut
has a
take.
Wikipedia entry. You know, it's like, you know, it's all a click away. The other thing is, it's funny you mentioned like different perspectives. That just happened today because reviews for Dark Alliance came out,
yeah,
and IGN gave it a 4.
yeah,
And then PC Gamer gave it an 82.
yeah.
And so it's just
And then
like,
the Metacritic was like right in the middle at a 60
right.
something.
And so it's like, yeah.
yeah,
There's definitely different perspectives out there for sure.
totally.
Our last email comes in from Matthew, and he says, "Hey, Ben and panel, I recently started Moonlighter for the first time.
Moonlighter.
I got about
Yeah.
30 minutes into the game, and I started to understand the loop. And then immediately I thought, certainly someone has min-maxed this game, and there must be charts for prices, dungeon strats, etc. online. I had to fight the urge to look anything up and tell myself, just play the game.
Just play.
Enjoy it. Make mistakes. It's okay.
Just play.
Have you all felt this way before? How do you deal with it? I feel like I'm in a constant battle between wanting to explore a new game at my own pace and wanting to maximize my gaming time so I can play more games."
The only thing I do to maximize gaming time sometimes is because I usually play. Dude, I'm all over the place with difficulty. I usually play games on hard, sometimes normal, but sometimes if I'm really trying to save time, I'll put it on easy.
Yeah.
That's all I'll do. I won't look up guides or anything because I respect that, you know. But for me, the guide is a spoiler.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
love making mistakes in games. I love missing things. So
Here's my take on it. Like, there's no wrong way.
there's no wrong way.
know?
And don't let anyone tell you there's a right way.
Yeah,
Like,
and
play on easy, play on hard, play with invincibility, use a game shark, like whatever.
Just as a culture, we just need to let that go. Like if somebody
Yes.
comes up to me and they're like, I played this game, I really loved it. I looked everything up and I used the cheapest strategy. I'm like, cool, did you have fun? Like it doesn't matter.
How
Like, you know,
insane?
it doesn't matter.
How insane is the idea that someone could hate you
Yes.
because of
insane.
the way you play a video
Yes.
game or you like a video game?
Yes.
Someone out there hates your guts.
It's different for
What?
everybody. You know, I do think, kind of tying back on what I said
don't know.
earlier, it's good to challenge yourself. It's good to try new things. You know, if you always experience a video game one way, maybe try to experience it a different way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is your entertainment, and it's just entertainment. Like it doesn't matter.
Entertainment.
Like the thing that I do that I really it's been perfect for me is I'll play a game and no, I'm not looking up a guide. And my rule is like if I get stuck, I'll try to get out of it.
Yeah.
If I can't get out of it,
Oh, look
if
up a
I
video,
feel like
yeah.
I've tried everything,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up how to get out of this specific situation.
Definitely.
Then I'll move on.
Definitely.
You know, and that's fine.
for sure.
Yeah. There's no wrong way to do it. If you follow a guide every step of the way,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. There's
I've
nothing
done,
to be
I've done both.
Yeah.
If you want to look at
Blind guide all the way, just
Yeah.
whatever I
Totally.
felt
Same
like.
here. There's no shame.
if you want to look at a confident guide in
Yeah.
Persona ahead of time, you want to
Yeah.
maximize those bonds, feel free.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's like
I bumped Persona down to easy. No shame.
And the thing is like I really, you know, we all love this. We're all very similar in our gaming taste. I love hard games.
Yeah.
You know, we rant and rave about Souls all the time. I love playing like hard character action games or hard RPGs or whatever. Like I love when a game challenges me and I want to overcome that challenge. But just because I love that doesn't mean you have to love that.
Mhm.
If anybody comes up to me that like they think it's like insulting to me when they're like, sorry, I just don't like, you know, Ninja Gaiden, or I just don't like Souls. It's like, that's cool. Like, it doesn't bother me at
Yeah.
all.
Fine.
Yeah, they don't got to
Yeah.
appeal to everybody.
It's just all about attitude. If you come up
Yeah.
to me and you're like, Dark Souls sucks and everybody plays as an idiot, well, then you're just an asshole.
There's just such a there is more of an ownership with video games where like different than movies, you know, movies are so passive, like you're watching the movie. So just I think in the gaming industry sometimes it can feel so toxic is because, you know, everyone wants to have ownership of their experience. You know, they played through this game, they want to praise it and they want to defend it.
I suffer with this too, but like I'm just telling everybody out there, you gotta let go of these mental shackles.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like, because people say all the time, it's like, oh,
Life's too short.
I want to get into fighting games, but I suck at them. And it's like, dude, so does everyone starts sucking at them.
Yeah.
Like no one picks up a fighting game and they're like, oh, I got it. You know, it just takes time and practice and effort.
I started
you know?
playing StarCraft like one click at a time.
Totally.
Just one
I
at
think-
a time.
I think people need to enjoy the process of getting better at a game instead of wanting to be good immediately. You have to be okay with learning
Yes,
and enjoy
Brett.
things with that.
Yes.
The reason why I love fighting games is because I suck at them and I get to get better, even if it's just a little bit. Like the learning process, I truly think can be the most magical thing in a game. When you get your ass blown out by something hard and then you finally overcome it and you do something that you didn't think was possible, that's great. We need to destigmatize failure.
Yes.
Yeah.
In games.
Please.
Should not be afraid to fail. in a
Do
game.
not be afraid.
Yes, it's okay.
To lose your
Do not
team
be
in Mass
afraid
Effect 2.
If someone
Do
beat
not
this
be
game
afraid.
easier, like they got through it easier than you, do not get upset about that.
There's trust me, no matter how good you think you are, there
Someone's
is somebody
better.
out there that would demolish
Yep.
you.
Every single game can be beaten without getting hit by someone.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think sometimes people confuse this. Like, I enjoy shit talking with my friends or like as a bit, but it's not serious.
No.
You know, like if you want to shit talk and like have fun with it, but make sure like everybody is like cool with
In on it.
Yeah, make sure
Yes.
everybody's in on it. You know,
Read the room.
and not everybody likes doing that. Sometimes people don't want any shit
Read
talking.
the
That's
room.
fine. Yeah, read the room. Good stuff. Good episode of Frame Trap. If you want to send an email, the email address is askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. Also in the description of wherever you're watching this. Great to have you both on the first full episode of the studio.
Yay!
Always so much fun. Thank you, Huber. Thank you, Brad. And thank you so much for watching.